Chapter 1736. Sun Jingyi's worries, that's true, but in the end our Kang family might not be able to refine this formula. Moreover, our Kang family is in the limelight because of this. If we don't get any benefits, we will be at a disadvantage. Kang Ming said with a bitter face. If that's the case. Yu Zhentian hesitated for a moment, then said, in the future our hidden Yu family can help your Kang family in secret, and we can also refine some rare medicinal pills for you to sell, but you must not expose this layer of identity. This way it was equivalent to the hidden Yu family finding a spokesperson in the secular world, and they could even earn some money. It was a win-win situation. Of course, when the time comes, our Kang family will unite with the Shao family through marriage. To the outside world, we will say that we have the support of the Shao family and the hidden house Pai. We will not let the hidden Yu family be involved in this matter. Dr. Kang didn't expect Yu Zhentian to give the Kang family benefits, and he was even more optimistic about his grandson, Kang Ming. In fact, Kang Ming was just asking with the mentality of trying it out. Anyway, they were partners. If he made more requests, the hidden Yu family wouldn't do anything to the Kang family, so he might as well give it a try. After the matter was settled, Yu Zhentian left the Kang family with his follower, Yu San. At the same time, a few families close to Lin Yi, Old Man Song reacted, and on the other side Old Man Sun also reacted. After Old Man Sun returned to the Sun family with Sun Jingyi and Sun Yikai, he held a family meeting and announced two important decisions. The first decision was that Sun Yikai was appointed as the next heir of the Sun family by Old Man Sunday. This decision made Sun Yikai's elder brother and Sun Yikai's uncle a little shocked and angry, but Old Man Sun had always been a man of his word. Moreover, they also knew what happened at the meeting. This was the rule set by the Earth-class master. If they were dissatisfied, it was useless to talk to Old Man Sunday. If they had the ability to argue with Lin Yi, why not? But did they dare to? Therefore they could only be angry but did not dare to say anything. They could only be angry about Old Master Sun's appointment, but did not dare to say anything. The second important decision was to stop interfering with Sun Jingyi's marriage and let Sun Jingyi return to the family so that she could manage some of the family's businesses and work together with Sun Yikai as a liaison for the Cultivator Association. Of course, Grandpa Sun also hinted that Sun Jingyi's main task was to build a good relationship with Lin Yi. As for the company in Donghai, she didn't need to run it anymore. She could just sell it because Sun Jingyi didn't need to prove anything to her family. Regarding this decision, although Sun Jingyi was a little embarrassed, she was also very happy. She finally didn't need to run away from home to open a company to prove anything. In the family she also had a certain amount of freedom. As long as the family didn't force her to marry someone she didn't like, she would be satisfied. And as a girl, it was too tiring to work hard outside, so Sun Jingyi happily decided to sell the company and focus on taking care of the family's business. Moreover, she was also under the family's order to contact Lin Yi, which made her a little happy. But after feeling happy, Sun Jingyi suddenly froze. Why was she so happy? Was it because of the family's recognition and gave her a certain amount of freedom, or was it because she could see Lin Yi often? Could it be that she fell in love with Lin Yi? Sun Jingyi was a little lost. In the past she never thought about this problem. She only thought about how to get rid of the restrictions of her family in Wuxia, but she never had the time to think about her own love. But once she relaxed, she couldn't help but think in this direction. Thinking back to how she and Lin Yi met, it was a little strange. Wu Qintian, who was always arrogant, was defeated in front of Lin Yi. This made Sun Jingyi surprised for the first time in her life. This person could actually defeat Wu Qintian, who came from a noble house and even took advantage of him, stealing his wallet. This made Sun Jingyi feel a little strange. When she asked about Lin Yi's profession, Lin Yi actually told her that he was a pirate. As she got to know more about Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi suddenly realized that Lin Yi was a lot stronger than she thought. And after that, Wu Qintian became Lin Yi's follower, surprising Sun Jingyi. It was then that Sun Jingyi realized that she didn't understand Lin Yi at all. There were still many things she didn't know, and this meeting of the noble houses once again made Sun Jingyi see Lin Yi again. He'd managed to influence the entire noble house meeting by himself, and even after Shuixing had taken the pill, he'd managed to turn the tables and turn the situation around. Sun Jingyi couldn't believe her eyes. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi's position had replaced House Yu's, becoming the core of these noble houses. He even created the Practitioners' Association, replacing the noble house meeting. All these miracles had happened to the great bandit that he had met by chance in a bar, and he had done it all on his own. If Sun Jingyi hadn't seen it with her own eyes, Sun Jingyi would have found it hard to believe. Was this still the Lin Yi she knew, the one who was occasionally cold and joking around? Lin Yi's strength made Sun Jingyi's heart feel a little fuzzy. The master of House Yu arrived. This person didn't look like much and there was nothing special about him. If he were to blend in with the crowd, it would be impossible to tell him apart. And such a person was an Earth-class mid-phase master. This was a risky thing to do, and if something went wrong, they couldn't bring out House Yu to avoid being blamed by the Hidden Noble House Association. But at the same time, the rewards promised by House Yu were extremely generous. Once this was done, the Hidden House Yu promised to give him a large amount of lesser chi-gathering pills to help him train. The difference between lesser chi-gathering pills and other pills was that lesser chi-gathering pills weren't pure, and the increase in strength from each pill was limited. However, there wouldn't be any negative side effects after ingesting it, and one could continue to absorb the energy from nature. With a generous reward, there would always be a brave man, and so this Earth-class master hid his identity and came to House Kong to participate in the kidnapping plan. Just as House Kong was celebrating, Xiaolong's lips curled into a sinister smile. He'd been waiting for this chance for far too long, and it was finally here. That night, when House Kong held a meeting to discuss how to kidnap Guan Xian and how to get the recipe, Xiaolong brought up his own idea. Chapter 1737. The operation this time is too risky. As far as I know, that Lin Yi isn't someone to be trifled with. It's not a good thing for House Kong to be in the limelight. Xiaolong said sarcastically. Don't we have the support of the Hidden House Yu? What are you afraid of? Kong Xiaoming wasn't happy that his big brother suddenly poured cold water on him. Kong Xiaoming naturally knew what his big brother was thinking. He thought that Kong Xiaoming was too capable and that he was better than him, so he wouldn't have a place in the family anymore. Little brother, it's not that I'm a big brother, but the Hidden House Yu said that they can only help us in secret. We can't tell anyone about this. So if something goes wrong and Lin Yi comes back, won't our House Kong be finished? Big brother, I understand what you mean. You just want to cut ties with them, right? Kong Ming sneered and said, if Lin Yi really comes looking for trouble, I'll take responsibility for what I did. I'll take responsibility? That's good. I'm just thinking about the overall benefit of House Kong. I'm not targeting you. Although Xiaolong saw the huge benefits in this matter, at the same time, there was also a huge risk. If Lin Yi came looking for them and the Hidden House Yu didn't care, then House Kong would be in danger. So Xiaolong made it clear first. If nothing went wrong, he would just be a villain for nothing. But if something went wrong, he would be a hero and could regain his position in House Kong. Xiaolong has a point. Although the benefits this time are great, we can't let the whole House Kong get involved. Dr. Kong was also a careful person. He nodded and said, but Xiaoming, it's really hard on you this time. Grandpa, I'm a disciple of House Kong. Naturally, I have to contribute to the development of House Kong. Kong Ming said, I'll tell the public about this. I did it myself. It has nothing to do with House Kong. Okay, we House Kong won't participate in the next plan. You and the masters of House Yu will plan it. We'll just pretend we don't know anything. Xiaolong pushed the blame away completely. Alright then, let's move out today. Xiaolong's words were chilling, but it was exactly what Kong Ming wanted. Without the participation of the other members of the Kong Ming, all the credit for this matter belonged to him alone. Moreover, he had absolute confidence that he could complete this mission. So what if Lin Yi was an Earth-class early-phase master? On his side, wasn't there another Earth-class mid-phase master? Let's see if Lin Yi has the ability to reverse the situation. Of course, Kong Ming still had a way out. His actions seemed impulsive, but there was a deeper meaning behind them. Once the matter was exposed and he had nowhere to go, he could seek refuge in the Hidden Right family. In his opinion, he had wholeheartedly worked for the Yu family, and this time there was a problem. The Yu family couldn't just sit back and do nothing, right? As long as he took refuge in the Yu family, wouldn't the problem be solved? If he could learn more about alchemy from the Yu family, that would be amazing. Kong Ming had been planning to kidnap Guan Xian for a long time, but he didn't have the right opportunity to make a move. He was also afraid of Lin Yi's strength, so Kong Ming didn't make a move. Now that he had the support of the Hidden Right family, Kong Ming wasn't afraid of anything. This master from the Yu family didn't have a name. In fact, Kong Ming knew that he didn't want to expose his identity, so he gave himself the name Yushir San. But it didn't matter. Kong Ming didn't want to know his name. Kong Ming was very fast. The second day after moving out of the Kong family, Guan Xian disappeared. Guan Shuamin was the same as usual. The servant Nanny Lu prepared dinner, and he sat at the dining table reading the newspaper, waiting for Guan Xian to come back from work. Guan Xian could have quit right now, but she said that she wanted to be on her last shift. After leaving the hospital, she might never be able to return to her job as a nurse, so she treasured the last moment she had left. Professor Guan, the food is cold. Do you want to call Xinshin and ask her if she's working overtime? Nanny Lu looked at the food on the table and asked Guan Shuamin, who was engrossed in reading the newspaper. What time is it? Guan Shuamin was slightly stunned, putting down the newspaper in his hand. It's already past 8 in the evening. Normally, if Xinshin isn't on duty or working overtime, she should be home around 6. Nanny Lu said. I'll call and ask. Guan Shuamin frowned slightly. Guan Xian always got off work on time. Even if she was working overtime, she would call to inform him. So, he wasn't used to the sudden lack of news from her today. He called Guan Xian's phone and it was picked up quickly. However, it wasn't Guan Xian who picked up the phone, but an unfamiliar man's voice. Hello. The voice was lazy, as if victory was in his grasp. Isn't this Xinshin's phone number? Who are you? Guan Shuamin paused and looked at the number he dialed. He couldn't help but feel a little confused. Miracle Dr. Guan, I thought you didn't care about your granddaughter anymore. It's been so long, what a surprise. The man said slowly. It's been 2 hours, but it's not that long. I was thinking that if you didn't call me in 5 hours, I'd kill the hostage. I don't have that much time to play with you. Kill the hostage? Guan Shuamin paused. Were you really? What do you want? Where's Xinshin? What happened? Miracle Dr. Guan, you're so knowledgeable. Can't you guess who I am? Of course I'm the kidnapper. This man was Kong Ming. He'd successfully kidnapped Guan Xian, and was planning to use her to get the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing recipe from Guan Shuamin. Xinshin's in your hands? Guan Shuamin had been too worried before, but he calmed down after hearing Kong Ming's words. What do you want? What do you want? Miracle Dr. Guan, you're a straightforward person. Kong Ming said. If you want your granddaughter to be safe, you only need to pay a small price. Miracle Dr. Guan. How much do you want? Guan Shuamin asked. Isn't it tacky to talk about money? Kong Ming shook his head. I don't want money. Then what do you want? Guan Shuamin was a little confused after hearing Kong Ming's words. If the kidnapper didn't want money, then what did he want? Guan Shuamin asked without batting an eyelid. Miracle Dr. Guan, I heard that you have the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. I wonder if you can give me a copy? Kong Ming said straightforwardly. Chapter 1738. Of course you don't have to give it to me, but your granddaughter isn't that safe. At least she's safe right now. So that's what you want. Guan Shuamin paused after hearing the other's intentions. Are you from House Kong? Currently, the only one competing with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was House Kang's medical company. If there was someone who desperately wanted the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing's recipe, then House Kong would be the most suspicious. So Guan Shuamin's first suspicion was House Kong. Kong Ming thought that Guan Shuamin was smart. Who I am isn't important. What's important is whether you're going to give it to me or not. Miracle Dr. Guan, you're a smart man. It's just a recipe. You won't die if you copy it. But if you don't, someone will. How can I trust you? You want me to listen to Xian's voice? Guan Shuamin frowned. I can't hear her voice. She's not with me. But if you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. Kong Ming said. I don't like to waste my breath. If Miracle Dr. Guan doesn't believe me, then there's nothing we can do. You'll have to collect your granddaughter's corpse tomorrow. With that, Kong Ming hung up. He believed that Guan Shuamin would call again. As expected, Guan Shuamin called again very quickly. Kong Ming picked it up leisurely. Hello. Miracle Dr. Guan, there's no need to be in such a hurry, is there? I don't care who you are. You better let Xian go or I'll call the police. Guan Shuamin said. No matter who you are, you won't be able to get away with it. Call the police? I'm so scared. Kong Ming curled his lips. Even if you call the police, you'll have to be able to find me first. To tell you the truth, it's impossible for you to use a mobile phone to locate me. I've transferred this number from overseas several times. There's no way you can find me. Don't waste your energy. If you call the police, then there's nothing to talk about. I can only kill the hostage and we'll part ways. Wait. Guan Shuamin saw that Kong Ming was about to hang up again, so he quickly stopped him. By calling the police, Guan Shuamin was just trying to scare the other party. He wanted to see how confident the other party was. From the looks of it, since the other party dared to do such a thing, it meant that they were well prepared. This was different from ordinary kidnappers. The other party should have made a complete plan. It seemed that there was really no room for negotiation. That was because the other party's goal was very clear. They wanted the formula for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. This was different from asking for a ransom. There was no room for negotiation. What's wrong, Miracle Dr. Guan? Is your granddaughter's life more important, or is the formula more important? Kong Ming asked happily. He knew that Guan Shuamin was going to give in. I can't make the decision about the formula. I'll have to ask around. After all, the company doesn't belong to me alone. Guan Shuamin said helplessly. He could only ask for Lin Yi's opinion on this matter. The formula belonged to Lin Yi. If Lin Yi didn't give it to him, then he could only resign himself to fate. Then go ask around. I'll be waiting for your reply. Kong Ming hung up. Miracle Dr. Guan hesitated for a moment before dialing Lin Yi's number. He was a little embarrassed, but he had no choice. He could only trouble Lin Yi for this. The other party had made it very clear that he wanted the formula in exchange for Guan Xian's safety. Only Lin Yi could make the decision. At this moment, Lin Yi had just left the province. He found an express hotel with Tang Yun, Mengyao and Yushu. After dinner, Mengyao and Skybolt Pig were playing with General Weiwu. As for the lion, it was left with Wu Qintian. Rest early, we still have a long way to go tomorrow, Lin Yi said as he looked at the three who were having fun. And let's play for a while more. General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig were staying in the villa's backyard. Mengyao and the others didn't pay attention to it, but they realized that General Weiwu was teaching Skybolt Pig martial arts during their journey. And it looked like it was the real deal. They thought that it was very interesting and watched from the side. But Lin Yi knew that Skybolt Pig didn't have any attacking abilities. The things General Weiwu taught him could save his life in a critical moment. Lin Yi was about to say something when his phone rang. Lin Yi looked at the caller ID and picked it up. Elder Guan, why are you calling me at this hour? What's up? Something happened to Xian. Guan Shuamin didn't say much and went straight to the point. Xian was kidnapped. What? Guan Xian's been kidnapped? Lin Yi paused. What's going on? Elder Guan, don't scare me. Xian got off work today and didn't come home on time. I called her, and it was an unfamiliar man's voice. With that, Shuamin explained the whole story. The kidnappers only want the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, so I suspect that it's our competitor. It might be House Kong. House Kong. Lin Yi nodded. Shuamin's analysis wasn't unreasonable, but something like this happening at a time like this made Lin Yi feel helpless. Lin Yi was out of town and Guan Xian was kidnapped. If Lin Yi wanted to save her, he had to go back. I understand your difficulties. If you can't do it, then forget it. After all, the formula is very precious and important. I'll think of another way. Guan Shuamin heard Lin Yi's silence and thought that Lin Yi didn't want to give him the formula. Elder Guan, you misunderstood. It's not that I don't want to give it to you, but I'm out of town and I can't go back. Lin Yi had already made his decision. How about this, I'll text you the formula, and you can use it to exchange for Xian's safety. Although Lin Yi hated the feeling of being threatened, it would be troublesome for Lin Yi to go back now. He might as well compromise and give the formula to Guan Shuamin for Guan Xian. Once Lin Yi returned to Songshan, he could take his revenge on the mastermind. Lin Yi didn't believe that the mastermind wouldn't make the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing after getting the formula. Whoever made the pill would know who the mastermind was, so Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry. Guan Shuamin didn't think that Lin Yi would agree so easily. He didn't know what to do. Don't force yourself. Chapter 1739. Elder Guan, look at what you're saying, isn't it just a recipe? It's nothing to me, it's nothing compared to Xian's safety, Lin Yi smiled. Alright, let's not waste any more time. I'll send you the recipe right now. Alright. Thank you so much, Shuamin said excitedly. Naturally, he knew the value of this recipe. The pills had been sold for sky-high prices back at the auction, and this recipe was even more priceless. And now, Lin Yi was giving it away just like that. How could he not be touched? After hanging up, Lin Yi started to think about it. Just give away the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing? He wasn't that kind of guy. Plus, that wasn't Lin Yi's style at all. Lin Yi remembered reading from Zhang Liju's notes that there was a pill called the Great Foundation Establishment Pill, the Bone Cleansing Pill. Its effects were similar to the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, but it was a little more powerful than it. And so, Lin Yi opened up the notes and found the recipe for the bone cleansing and bone cleansing pill. He then started making up the recipe based on his own pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Lin Yi had been studying Zhang Liju's notes for a while now. His skills didn't improve much, but his knowledge of medicinal properties and pharmacology had improved by leaps and bounds. The best of the best had two skills. One was an extremely high level of control over the refinement fire, and the other was the ability to create their own recipes, simplifying and replacing the recipes. Just like back then, when Zhang Liju simplified the qi-gathering pill that had no side effects into the current qi-gathering pill. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't have much attainment in controlling the refinement fire, but he had a solid foundation in medicine. His skills weren't any worse than Zhang Liju's, and it could even be said that the old man's knowledge of medicinal properties and pharmacology had far surpassed Zhang Liju's level. Because of something that happened years ago, the old man had spent decades researching medicine and medicinal properties, and so Lin Yi was very familiar with medicine and medicinal properties under the influence of this since he was young. Changing prescriptions was a common thing for Lin Yi, and changing prescriptions wasn't much different from changing prescriptions. Of course, the requirements for the recipe would be different from before, and the requirements for the refiner would be different as well. But the main problem was that Lin Yi didn't care about that. He was only responsible for providing the recipe, and whether or not they could make it was House Kang's problem. 10 minutes later, a completely different pill formula was produced. Only a grade 3 apothecary and above could forge it. Furthermore, there were many valuable medicinal herbs in it. Even if the cost of this pill was not in the hundreds of millions, it would be at least 70 to 80 million. Moreover, this was based on a 100% success rate. For an average pill master, if they could have a success rate of 20% to 30%, it was already not bad. A slightly more powerful 5th-tier pill master, refining a 3rd-tier pill master's success rate was only around 50%. Thus, this imperceptibly increased the cost of the pill, causing the value of a single pill to rise to between 200 million to 500 million. The effects of this pill were similar to the life extension and toxin cleansing pill. It was much stronger than the foundation establishment pill, but it was still inferior to the true marrow and bone cleansing pill, which was the great foundation establishment pill. But the pill of bone and marrow cleansing was much harder to make, and the ingredients were rarer as well, so Lin Yi's pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was the difference between the two, and it was no wonder that the hidden house Yu was so eager for it. After making this fraudulent recipe, Lin Yi sent a text to the anxiously waiting Guan Shuamin. Guan Shuamin felt like a year, waiting for half a day without a message from Lin Yi. He was a little uneasy, wondering if Lin Yi would send him the recipe. Although Lin Yi had agreed, his phone hadn't buzzed for so long, and Guan Shuamin was afraid that Lin Yi was just being perfunctory. Fortunately, Guan Shuamin's phone soon received a text from Lin Yi. "I'm sorry, Elder Guan. The recipe is in my notebook and I had to make a copy, so I wasted some time. The recipe is as follows." The text was from Lin Yi. Lin Yi naturally couldn't tell Guan Shuamin that he'd tampered with the contents of the recipe. After all, Guan Shuamin was a very honest person, and Lin Yi was afraid that he'd let the Kangs slip. Guan Shuamin didn't dare delay after receiving the recipe. He quickly dialed Guan Xian's number again. "Miracle Dr. Guan, how is it? Are there any results? I'm getting a little impatient." Kang Mingming's voice sounded again. "There are only a few people in your company, is it so hard to make a decision?" "This? I've already discussed it. I can give you the recipe, but you must guarantee Xian's safety," Guan Shuamin said. "Otherwise I won't let you go." "Ha, of course. We people in the underworld have rules. If you give me the recipe, I'll naturally let your granddaughter go. She can't make medicine anyway, so what's the point of having her?" Kang Xiaoming actually had his eyes on Guan Xian, but he didn't want to blow things up. He didn't want to cause more trouble, so getting the formula was the most important thing. "All right, I'll send the recipe to Xian's phone. Let her go after you receive it," Guan Shuamin said. "Don't, the call is forwarded so you can only receive voice messages. I'll give you an email address, just send it to me," Kang Mingming said. "That's fine." Guan Shuamin nodded. "But after you receive the email, you must let Xian go as soon as possible." "Of course, but I need to confirm the authenticity of the recipe first. If it's fake, then we'll have no choice but to kill her," Kang Mingming said. "You know what happens when you make a fool out of us. Confirm the authenticity? Doesn't that mean I'll have to wait for you to make the pill before I let Xian go?" Guan Shuamin frowned, a little unhappy. "There's no need to take so long. We just need to study the pharmacology and properties." Kang Mingming had the hidden Yu family behind him. Naturally, they didn't need to wait for the pill to be made. With their experience, they could know the authenticity of the recipe with a little bit of analysis and simulation. "All right, tell me the email address." Guan Shuamin breathed a sigh of relief. Kang Mingming gave Guan Shuimin an email address. Of course, it was a free email address in a foreign country. Guan Shuimin sent the recipe word by word according to Lin Yi's text message, and then called Kang Mingming to inform him. As for Kang Xiaoming, the first thing he did after receiving the call was log into his mailbox and receive the prescription. Chapter 1740. Greed, this prescription requires an alchemist? Kang Mingming looked at the prescription on the computer and was slightly stunned. No wonder his family couldn't come up with anything after researching for so long. The result of their research was a pile of dog sh*t. It turned out that it required a higher-level alchemist to refine it. It wasn't a problem of his family's ability, it was just that their standards weren't high enough. Kang Mingming couldn't understand the prescription either, but he forwarded it to Yu Xintian's mailbox. Kang Mingming didn't expect Guan Shuimin to compromise so easily. From his point of view, Guan Shuimin should have gone to Lin Yi, and with Lin Yi's personality, he should have gone to Guan Xian and rescued her first. He would only hand over the prescription after being humiliated by the Yu family's Earth-class expert. However, none of this happened. Guan Shuimin directly took out the prescription. This made Kang Ming feel a little regretful. This was really a case of wearing out iron shoes and fruitless searching, only to find it without even looking for it. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have cooperated with the Yu family. He could have just found a few hoodlums to kidnap Guan Xian. When he obtained the prescription, his bargaining chips with the Yu family would be much higher than now. But things had already come to this. There was nothing Kang Mingming could do about it even if he regretted it. Instead, he let the hidden Yu family gain a huge advantage. Of course, the authenticity of the prescription hadn't been confirmed yet, so it was still too early to regret. After Yu Xintian received the email, he saw that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing could only be refined by an alchemist above the 3rd level, but he wasn't surprised. This was because Yu Xintian knew that Lin Yi was an alchemist. Although he didn't know his strength, it wasn't surprising that such a heaven-defying pill came from an alchemist. Therefore, Yu Xintian took Lin Yi's tampering as a matter of course. This was the so-called appearance causing trouble. Yu Xintian took a simple look at the prescription and found that the medicinal properties were extremely reasonable. Simply put, there was no problem with this prescription. Everyone who refined pills knew that if one of the ingredients was used improperly, it could cause the furnace to explode. However, this prescription obviously didn't have that risk. Yu Xintian did not believe that Guan Shuimin or Lin Yi could forge such a reasonable pill formula in such a short time. Unless this was not the pill formula for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. If it was, then there should be no problem. One had to know that people who could change the pill recipe at will were all top alchemists. Not to mention the hidden Yu family, even the heavenly elixir sect did not have such talents. Yu Xintian quickly printed out the prescription and gave it to the current helmsman of the Yu family, Old Master Yu Taishan. Father, the elixir formula is in my hands. Please take a look and verify its authenticity. Yu Xintian presented the elixir formula with both hands and handed it to Yu Taishan to take a look. Oh, the efficiency of the Kang family is quite fast. You got the pill formula in such a short time? Yu Taishan took the pill formula with some surprise and said, "Have you seen it? Is there a problem with this pill formula?" From what I can see, there are no problems with the medicinal properties and the medicinal properties. There won't be an explosion. However, I'm not too sure if the pill formula is the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Yu Xintian said. Alright, I'll take a look first. Yu Taishan nodded. He was quite confident in this son of his. His son was very perceptive when it came to alchemy, so if he said there was no problem, there was basically no problem. After a period of careful deliberation, Yu Xintian nodded slowly and raised his head. Not bad. This pill formula should have been developed based on the foundation of the Foundation Establishment pill. Although I don't know how it compares to the legendary marrow and bone cleansing pill, its effects should definitely be much stronger than the Foundation Establishment pill. In other words, this pill formula is real? Yu Xintian was overjoyed when he heard that. I think it's real, but we still have to ask the people from the Heavenly Elixir sect to take a look. As long as they confirm it, there won't be any problems. Yu Taishan looked at the pill formula with some joy and some heartache. Although this pill formula doesn't look fake, the medicinal ingredients in this pill formula are extremely precious. The cost to refine the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing isn't low. Many of the medicinal ingredients are priceless and can't be produced in a year. That doesn't matter. The Heavenly Elixir sect has its own herb garden anyway. Yu Xintian said, then I'll contact the emissary from the Heavenly Elixir sect and let them take a look at this pill formula. If it's real, then our Yu family has made a great contribution this time. Our status in the heavenly elixir sect will also rise. Haha, if it's real then don't mistreat the Kong family. This Kong family is not bad. Yu Taishan was very satisfied with the Kong family's efficiency. Previously, he had viewed this cooperation with an indifferent attitude. He didn't expect to reap such unexpected rewards. Yes, father. Yu Zhentian nodded and went to contact the emissary from the heavenly elixir sect. Soon, the heavenly elixir sect replied that the pill formula was real, but the refining conditions were a little harsh. However, this wasn't a problem. As long as the pill formula was real, it was fine. As for how to refine it, that was a problem for the future. The heavenly elixir sect replied to the hidden Yu family, and Yu Zhentian naturally replied to Kong Mingming immediately. Xiaoming, you're really a good young man. You have a bright future. Things have progressed so smoothly this time. You've made a great contribution. Yu Zhentian already knew the authenticity of the pill formula, so he naturally didn't hesitate to praise Kong Mingming. Oh, young Master Yu, so that pill formula is real? Kong Mingming was overjoyed when he heard Yu Zhentian's words. And it's real. Yu Zhentian said, but this isn't a pill formula, it's a pill formula. I guess your Kong family can't refine it. When we refine it, the sales in the secular world will be given to your Kong family. We won't let you work for nothing. Our hidden Yu family is very clear about gratitude and grudges. Great, thank you, young Master Yu. Kong Mingming was overjoyed when he heard Yu Zhentian's promise. By the way, young Master Yu, I still want to ask Guan Shuamin for a few formulas. Can you let Master Yu Shisan cooperate with me? No problem, as you wish. Yu Zhentian waved his hand and said indifferently. This time, the hidden Yu family was praised and rewarded by the heavenly elixir sect. The rewards were also very generous, so Yu Zhentian naturally wouldn't be stingy with Kong Mingming, a great contributor. Thank you so much, young Master Yu. Kong Mingming quickly thanked him. Guan Shuamin's previous straightforwardness made Kong Mingming have other thoughts. Sometimes when a person's greed comes, it can't be stopped. Kong Mingming was like that. He saw how easily he got the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, so he wanted the other two formulas from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Hashtag. Chapter 1741. Lin Yi's Fury, Part 1. Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine and pain medicine were popular products. Because of their low prices, the market responded well. Miracle Dr. Kang's golden creations cost was too high, and they couldn't sell it at a loss. So, they weren't a match for Miracle Dr. Guan's medicine company. So, Kang Xiaoming came up with another plan. If he got the formula from Miracle Dr. Guan's company, then Dr. Kang's company might not be able to suppress Miracle Dr. Guan's company, but they could be on par with Miracle Dr. Guan's company. At that time he would be the savior of House Kong. The position of the head of House Kong would belong to him, Kong Mingming. So, Kong Mingming thought for a while and called Yu Shisan. He told him not to let Guan Xian go, and to keep an eye on Guan Xian. Then Kong Mingming called Guan Shuamin again. Hello? Now that you got the formula, shouldn't you keep your promise and let her go? Guan Shuamin picked up the phone and asked anxiously. He didn't have the calmness he usually had. Guan Xian was his favorite granddaughter, and now that something happened to her, he couldn't stay calm. Miracle Dr. Guan, this prescription of yours requires an alchemist to refine it. It's too troublesome to verify it, so we're worried. Kang Xiaoming began to make a big fuss. You're right. Then what do you want? Are you going back on your word? Miracle Dr. Guan's voice was filled with anger. We won't go back on our word, but if you give us a fake formula, wouldn't we be losing big time? So, you'll have to pay a little more security, or else it'll be hard for us to let her go. Kong Mingming said. Security? You're going back on your word. Guan Shuamin said angrily, how can you go back on your word? We agreed that you'll let Xian go if we give you the formula, and now you want security? Don't be angry, Miracle Dr. Guan. It's hard for us to continue this conversation with your current mood. Why don't we talk after you've calmed down? Kong Mingming purposely said in a superior tone. Guan Shuamin was about to explode, but his granddaughter was in their hands, so he didn't dare to get angry. He could only say, how much more money do you want? What do you want? Tell me clearly. Money? I've already said it, isn't it tacky to talk about money? Could it be that Miracle Dr. Guan's memory is bad and he's muddled from anger? Kong Mingming said. I don't need money. What security deposit do you need? Guan Shuamin asked. Miracle Dr. Guan, we'll let your granddaughter go if you give us the prescription for the injury medicine and painkiller as collateral. I'll return them to you after I verify that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing is real, Kong Mingming said. Prescriptions aren't money. You'll know once I give them to you. What's the point of giving them back to me? Guan Shuimin was amused by Kang Mingming's angry. This guy was greedy and insatiable. He wasn't satisfied after asking for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, he was asking for other prescriptions. Haha, Miracle Dr. Guan, you're a smart one. I won't say anything more. Deal or no deal. Just give me a straight answer. Kang Mingming didn't bother explaining. If it's okay, then I'll let her go. If not, then I'll let her go after I verify the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. But I can't guarantee Guan Xian's safety in the meantime, haha, you know what I mean. Guan Shuimin didn't expect Kang Mingming to be this shameless, but this wasn't the time to piss him off. He could only say, then I'll discuss it and get back to you. That's right. Let's go discuss it. Kang Xiaoming said happily when he heard that there was hope. Miracle Dr. Guan hung up the phone, his chest heaving with anger. He let out a long sigh of relief and dialed Lin Yi's number again. He didn't want to trouble Lin Yi, but for his granddaughter, he had no choice but to sacrifice his dignity. The call went through quickly. Lin Yi was concerned about Guan Xian's safety as well, so he quickly asked, "How's it going, Elder Guan? Did they let Xian go after they got the prescription?" Guan Shuimin sighed, a bitter smile on his face. They're too greedy. They said they'd let Xian go after they got the prescription for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, but now they want the prescription for the wound medicine and the painkiller. I'm guessing that they're from Dr. Kang's family, because they're our only competitors. More? Lin Yi frowned, a fire burning in his heart. Was this guy trying to take advantage of him? Did he think he was a pushover? He wasn't satisfied with just the prescription for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, and now he wanted something else? Lin Yi wasn't someone who would let others bully him. He'd explode even in the face of a sky class, let alone Dr. Kang's family. Yeah, but I don't have a choice. If it comes down to it, I'll give up the shares of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. I'll work for you for free and you can use my name for free as well. I only have one granddaughter, Xian. Guan Shuimin was embarrassed to say all this, but he really couldn't give up on Guan Xian. Elder Guan, look at what you're saying. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Aren't you treating me like an outsider? You took me in as your disciple when I was in trouble, and now you're saying something like this? Plus, Xian's my good friend and I want to save her. It has nothing to do with you, so you don't have to feel guilty. Thank you so much. It's our fortune to have met you. Guan Shuimin said, touched. Let's not talk about that for now. They're so greedy that they'll probably ask for other things after we give them these two formulas. In the end, we might even have to give them the whole company. Lin Yi said. That's right. I know that too. This kind of serial scam happens all the time on TV, but I really don't have a choice right now. Guan Shuimin said helplessly. Elder Guan, I'll contact Ling Shan and ask her to see if she can find any traces of the kidnappers. I'll rush back to Songshan as fast as I can. You don't have to worry about this, I'll take care of it for you. Lin Yi couldn't take it anymore. Lin Yi gave him one recipe but he still wanted more. This was too greedy and Lin Yi's bottom line had been crossed. Naturally he had to take care of this himself. Right, they didn't want us to call the police, saying that they'd kill the hostage if we did. Guan Shuimin said. Plus, they said that the call had been transferred multiple times, through multiple countries before coming back. Ling Shan shouldn't be able to do anything either. Hashtag. Chapter 1742. Chapter 1747, Lin Yi's Fury, Part 2. Pretty professional, huh? But no problem, leave it to me. Lin Yi nodded and hung up before quickly returning to Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu's room. Something happened to Guan Xian, I have to go back to Songshan. Do you guys want to come with me? Guan Xian? What happened? Tang Yun and the others knew Guan Xian, and it was strange to hear Lin Yi say this. Let's talk on the way. Lin Yi said. Don't waste time. Okay. Tang Yun and the others weren't stupid people. They nodded after seeing how serious Lin Yi was. They quickly packed their things and left the hotel with Lin Yi. Lin Yi started the car and sped off. Lin Yi didn't exceed the speed limit on the way, but this was an emergency, so Lin Yi had no choice but to exceed the speed limit. After turning onto the highway, Lin Yi's car reached its limit, but Lin Yi didn't stop accelerating. Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu felt like they were on a plane. All the other cars on the highway became shadows in their eyes, disappearing in an instant. Lin Yi told Meng Yao and the others about Guan Xian as he drove. At the same time Lin Yi dialed a number. Eagle? The person on the other side sounded surprised. You're calling me on your own? Look, I was just thinking that you're busy, so I won't bother you if there's nothing else. Linny smiled bitterly. The hacker princess always had this hostile tone when he contacted her, as if he was the one who'd pissed her off. Yeah, I'm very busy. I'm so busy that I don't have time to answer your call. I'm hanging up. The hacker princess gritted her teeth. Don't. Linny quickly stopped him. Don't hang up. I'm just kidding. Recently my mission hasn't ended. There's nothing big, so I didn't contact you. Linny explained. I don't think there's an end to this mission of yours, right? Do you want to marry into a rich girl's family to complete the mission? Hacker princess mocked. Ha. Linny could only smile bitterly at this. Let's not talk about this. I have a serious matter to discuss with you this time. Can you help me check a number? It is said that it has been transferred many times from abroad. Can you locate it? Do you think it's possible? Hacker princess asked. What's the number? The number is. Linny gave Guan Xian's number to hacker princess. Wait a minute, let me check. When it came to business, hacker princess no longer joked with Lin Yi but returned to her usual formal tone. Lin Yi wasn't in a rush. He drove towards Songshan while waiting for the results. I found it. The opponent seems to have a master as well. It's just child's play, hacker princess said. The call went through dozens of transfers and finally came back through an internet call. According to the search, the target's coordinates are in Songshan. Do you have the GPS? I'll tell you the coordinates and you can input it directly. Yes, tell me. Lin Yi turned on the GPS. This was the car Feng Tianlong gave to Lin Yi. It had all the necessary facilities. The coordinates are. Hacker princess said a set of numbers. Lin Yi entered the coordinates and found out that the coordinates were actually the underground arena Air Gooden went to. It was originally an abandoned factory that was transformed into an underground boxing arena. After the underground boxing arena was destroyed, it became an uninhabited ruin. Lin Yi didn't expect House Kong to choose such a place. They were good at choosing. Not only was there no one paying attention to it, but it was also hard to be discovered. Thanks. Lin Yi said to Hacker Princess. I have something to do today. I'll talk to you another day. I'm very busy. Bye. Hacker Princess hung up. Lin Yi shook his head and sped up again. This car was specially modified by Feng Tianlong, and Lin Yi sped up to the max. Lin Yi's car was just a blur in the highway and nothing could be seen. The passing cars all thought that they were seeing a ghost car. A driver who watched too many sci-fi movies rubbed his eyes. Wow, it's not a UFO, is it? Oh, it feels so good. Yushu had never been in a car this fast before. She screamed. It's even more exciting than a roller coaster. Tang Yun, on the other hand, held Mingyao's hand tightly. She was a little scared, and while Mingyao wasn't as scared as Tang Yun, she was still a little nervous. Only that idiot Yushu had no sense of danger at all, just like Xiao Xiao. But Lin Yi wouldn't let the people in the car be in danger. He used Qi to protect the car when he was driving. Even if an accident happened, there wouldn't be any danger. We're here. Wait for me here. Don't go in. No matter what happens, wait here. Understand? Lin Yi parked the car in a dark corner far away from the arena and spoke to Mingyao and the others in a serious tone. Okay, we got it. Don't worry. Tang Yun nodded with a pale face. But you have to be careful. Okay, I'll be careful, Lin Yi said. Although it was dark in the underground boxing field, it could be seen from the two cars parked at the door that there were people in the underground boxing field. Otherwise, no one would park a car in this wilderness. Lin Yi looked at the license plate. It was indeed from Donghai. Now he was sure that it was done by House Kong. An unknown rage rose in Lin Yi's heart. During the meeting of the noble houses, Lin Yi let House Kong go because House Kong was related to Kong Xiaobo. Lin Yi didn't want to put Kong Xiaobo in a difficult position, so he didn't do anything to them. Plus, House Kong had been suppressed by Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, and they were struggling at death's door. Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company had taken over most of the market. Their medicine wasn't a problem, but the price was too high. Even if it was an old brand, people wouldn't be able to buy it. After all, people would always choose the cheaper ones. Since the effects were about the same, naturally they would buy the cheaper ones. But at this moment, Lin Yi couldn't take it anymore. What Kong Mingming did had exceeded Lin Yi's tolerance. Lin Yi suppressed his anger and tiptoed to the arena. As expected, the door was locked from the inside. Chapter 1743. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be a lock here. If there was a lock, it could only mean that there was someone inside. This further proved that Hacker Princess information was correct. Of course, a lock of this level wasn't a problem for Lin Yi at all. Lin Yi had a master uncle who specialized in breaking locks, so Lin Yi learned a little bit of it. However, Lin Yi wasn't a professional researcher, so he didn't study the notebook that his master uncle left him too deeply. As long as it was enough for his daily use, Lin Yi didn't expect himself to become a great thief. After successfully unlocking the door, Lin Yi entered the underground arena. It was no longer as bright as it used to be. It had been empty for a long time, and it had become dilapidated. Leaking rain and broken chairs made the entire arena look dilapidated. Lin Yi's target was the room in the arena. The kidnappers should be hiding in one of the rooms. In the quiet arena, Lin Yi could easily detect the slightest movement. However, while Lin Yi could detect the other party's movement, the other party could also detect Lin Yi's movement. Even if Lin Yi had concealed his aura, even a normal person wouldn't be able to escape the senses of a mid-earth class master, Yu San. Moreover, Yu San was 2 levels higher than Lin Yi. It wouldn't be difficult for him to sense Lin Yi's arrival. At this moment, Kang Ming was sitting in front of his computer proudly, waiting for Miracle Dr. Guan's reply. In his mind, he was drawing a beautiful blueprint for the future. His position in the Kang family would be comparable to Grandfather Kang. Kang Ming couldn't help but laugh out loud. But at this time, Yu San suddenly walked out from the inner room and said, "Master Kang, someone's here." "Someone's here?" Kang Ming was stunned. Who would come to this godforsaken place? "I don't know, but I have a feeling that he's coming towards us. Maybe he's here to rescue the hostage." "Be careful." Yu San said, "Leave this place to me. Just watch the hostage." "All right, I'll leave it to you then." Kang Ming was also shocked. He picked up the computer in his hands and was about to run into the room. But just then the door was kicked open. Yu San had already expected that someone would come, so he was expressionless at the moment. However, Kang Ming was shocked. He subconsciously shouted, "Who is it?" "It really is you, Kang Ming." Lin Yi walked into the room and saw Kang Ming in the room. A fierce look flashed across his eyes. "What? You sure are fast." Seeing that Lin Yi was heading there himself, Kang Ming wasn't afraid anymore. Because there was still an Earth-class mid-phase master here, and he could definitely take care of Lin Yi. "Your opponent is me, young Master Kang. Take care of the hostages," Right 13 said calmly. Earth-class mid-phase? Lin Yi also noticed Right 13 at this time, but his strength made Lin Yi's heart skip a beat. He didn't think that the Kang family would be able to invite an Earth-class mid-phase master to hold the fort. But it made sense. The Kang family knew that he was an Earth-class early-phase master, and yet they still dared to provoke him. It was obvious that they had something up their sleeves, and this confidence came from this Earth-class mid-phase master in front of him. Lin Yi didn't dare to be the slightest bit negligent. When he fought Shueixing, it was a complete fluke. But even so, it wasn't easy. Now that he was facing an opponent 2 levels higher than him, Lin Yi had no choice but to start channeling the art of dragon mastery right from the start and condense a chi bomb. Die. Right 13 didn't answer Lin Yi. Instead, he suddenly raised his hands and prepared to attack Lin Yi. Lin Yi was shocked. He quickly retreated and asked anxiously, "Which force are you from? Why are you interfering with the matters here?" However, Right 13 didn't seem to have any intention of talking nonsense with Lin Yi. He turned a deaf ear to Lin Yi's question. Instead, he shook his wrist and seemed to be channeling his inner force, preparing to use a martial technique. "Where are you from?" Lin Yi frowned. When he fought against masters of this level before, they were usually very arrogant. If Lin Yi talked to them, they would always reply with a few words to show how powerful they were. But this person in front of him made Lin Yi miscalculate. He didn't want to talk nonsense with Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't have the time to condense a chi bomb at all. In fact, if it were any other time, Right 13 would naturally act pretentiously and say a few words of contempt in front of Lin Yi. After all, it was not easy for an expert to reach his level. When he encountered an opponent, it was normal to scold the other party to make him feel satisfied. However, the key problem was that Right 13 came with an order this time. Right Jintian had strictly ordered him not to talk too much lest he revealed the identity of the Right family. Therefore, with Right Jintian's order in front of him, how could Right 13 dare to talk to Lin Yi casually? Since he didn't speak, he couldn't just stand there and stare at each other, right? In that case, he could only fight. Right 13's approach made Lin Yi break out in a cold sweat. All along, Lin Yi had been very conceited. Even in the face of an expert who was 1 or 2 levels higher than him, he would not show weakness. This was because Lin Yi had a trump card. He had a trump card like the Chi Bomb, which could allow him to cross levels to injure the enemy. But now, Lin Yi realized that when this trump card could not be used, he was really weak. The other party's martial arts technique was obviously at the point of perfection, while Lin Yi's own martial arts technique was about the same. Just as Lin Yi was thinking, Right 13 had already displayed his martial arts technique. With his left and right palms, as the qi circulated, one could vaguely see that his palms were surrounded by a light green mist. It seemed that this was not the original color of the qi, but the effect of the martial arts technique. With the eruption of the light green mist, Right 13's entire body leaped up like a spring, forming a shadow, and pounced toward Lin Yi with the force of a thunderbolt. Earth-level martial arts technique, Thunderstorm Palm. Accompanied by this roar, Right 13's figure was also right in front of Lin Yi. The cold sweat on Lin Yi's forehead instantly flowed down. Right 13's move actually made him feel breathless. This was a real Earth-level martial arts technique. Previously, when he faced Blue Hair, that guy was also an Earth-level early-stage expert. He was probably like Lin Yi, having just learned martial arts not long ago. Therefore, before he could display it, he was beaten senseless by Lin Yi. However, the person in front of him was different. He was a genuine Earth-level mid-stage expert. Although Lin Yi's cultivation realm was lower than Right 13's, with the current situation, there was no way for Lin Yi to hide. Unless there was a glimmer of hope for him to escape by using nimble Qinggong, he had no other choice. But could Lin Yi run now? Chapter 1744. If Lin Yi ran away, there was no telling whether or not He Shan could catch up. Even if He Shan didn't chase after him, if He Shan took Kong Ming Ming and Guan Xan away, then He Shan wouldn't be able to catch up to him. At that time, He Shan would come here for nothing, and it would be difficult to find traces of Kong Ming Ming again. Moreover, it was hard to say what a furious Kong Ming Ming would do. So after weighing the pros and cons, Lin Yi could only bite the bullet and face it head-on. Earth-tier skill, Frenzy Fist. Lin Yi used the skill that Faubert taught him, which he was not familiar with, to face it head-on. But in terms of momentum alone, He Shan was more than a head weaker than He Shan. Boom. Boom. With two loud bangs, the four palms collided and Lin Yi was sent flying. The collision of the powerful skill and true qi brought about a series of explosions, and this earth-shattering force also sent Lin Yi flying. Lin Yi didn't take it head-on, but took the opportunity to retreat. The ground that Lin Yi's feet passed was all cracked by Lin Yi, which allowed Lin Yi to offset some of the force. But even so, Lin Yi was still seriously injured. Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood and stood up shakily. At this moment, the most injured parts were his palms, and the bones inside were all shattered. This was a head-on collision, and it was a collision with a mid-earth tier master. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to get away with it. On the other hand, although He Shan's palms were also hurt by Lin Yi's head-on collision, he didn't suffer any major internal injuries at all. He calmly swung his hands and said, "Kid, you're quite strong, but your strength is too low." "Is it low?" Lin Yi panted heavily. His body was using the art of dragon mastery to heal the injured parts of his body. First it was his palms. Because the surface area was small, it was easier to heal, but the internal injuries were not so easy to heal. Initially, Lin Yi wanted to buy some time, but Yu Shan didn't continue after saying that. Instead, he raised his palms again and slapped at Lin Yi. This time it seemed to be even more majestic than before. Die. Right 13's palms instantly arrived in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi desperately used the art of dragon mastery to protect his heart meridian to avoid being killed by Right 13. The rest of his true qi was used to support his earth-rank martial skill, Frenzied Fire Fist. Boom. Boom. With another two loud sounds, Lin Yi was sent flying again. This time, the situation was obviously not much better than the last time. Lin Yi had no way to retreat this time and directly hit the wall behind him. In an instant, the wall was smashed by the huge impact of Lin Yi. The entire wall cracked and collapsed, turning into a pile of rubble. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was pressed under the rubble. This gave Lin Yi a chance to breathe. Lin Yi once again used the art of dragon mastery to heal the injuries on his palms and body. Although there was not much time, he would heal as much as he could. Lin Yi didn't know if he could wait until he recovered from his injuries to condense a true qi bomb, but Lin Yi had to work hard. Of course, Yu Shan didn't give Lin Yi much time. When he saw that Lin Yi hadn't walked out of the ruins, he didn't have the patience to wait. Instead, he used the earth-level martial arts technique again and slammed it at the pile of rubble. "Damn, can't you rest for a while?" Lin Yi almost cried. It was the first time he had seen such an opponent. He only attacked without speaking, so Lin Yi couldn't use his trump card of stalling for time to condense a true qi bomb. Lin Yi had no choice but to bite the bullet and stand up from the ruins. He waved his palms to meet the attack head-on. Boom. Boom. With another two loud bangs, Lin Yi was sent flying once more. "Wah, Lin Yi, weren't you very arrogant?" Weren't you very powerful? You asked the Kang family to scram at the meeting of the aristocratic families? How about now? Have you received your retribution? Kang Mingming laughed happily when he saw Lin Yi retreating step by step. Let me tell you something. It's not time yet. Kang Mingming, you're ruthless. Where did you find such an expert? Lin Yi asked as he healed his injuries. Although Lin Yi's internal injuries were getting more and more serious, every time Lin Yi was injured, he would first repair his palms and meridians. This way it wouldn't affect the strength of his attacks. As for the rest, Lin Yi could only grit his teeth and endure it. Why should I tell you? Kang Mingming was not stupid. He knew that Lin Yi was trying to get information out of him so he wouldn't fall for it easily. He's not dead yet? Yu Shisan was also a little surprised. Logically speaking, even if Lin Yi was an Earth-level expert, he should be dead by now. Even if he wasn't dead, he should be so injured that he couldn't get up. How could he still talk? However, although Yu Shisan was surprised, he waved his palms again and hit Lin Yi. His purpose was very simple. He wanted to help Kang Mingming get rid of Lin Yi, so he didn't need to say too much to Lin Yi. Lin Yi flew out again without any suspense, but he miraculously stood up again. This repeated 3 more times, and Yu Shisan finally became a little impatient. This was because his palms were already swollen. Even if Lin Yi was an Earth-level expert in the early stage, which was 2 levels lower than him, under such a high-intensity head-on situation, he still brought a certain amount of damage to Yu Shisan. This made Yu Shisan a little angry. He was famous for his palms and he was also the best at using palms. However, after slapping Lin Yi so many times, he actually didn't kill Lin Yi. The most unbelievable thing was that Lin Yi's hands weren't crippled. He could still use martial arts to fight against him. Could this kid be a physical cultivator who specialized in training his hands? Thunderstorm Palm. Yu Shisan attacked again in anger, but Lin Yi still countered each move as it came. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Lin Yi's lips curled into a smile. He thought, even if I can't beat you, I still want to fight. Drops of water can still wear through a stone. As long as I work hard enough, I can grind an iron rod into a needle. Isn't your martial arts a palm technique? Alright then, I'll cripple your palms. Let's see how you're going to fight then. The reason why Lin Yi had such confidence was because Yu Shisan's palms were initially unscathed, but now they were swollen. This gave Lin Yi hope. Again? Lin Yi healed his palms and meridians, stood up, and said to Yu Shisan. Yu Shisan was going crazy. Who the fuck is this? He's still not dead after so many hits. He clearly suffered serious internal injuries, but his hands are still fine. My palms are already swollen and he still wants to fight again? Enraged, Yu Shisan slapped Lin Yi again, but Lin Yi welcomed it with a smile. Chapter 1745. Although Lin Yi had already suffered severe internal injuries, Lin Yi had to grit his teeth and hold on to his last breath. He knew that he couldn't fall. Once he fell, it would be over for him and Guanxan, so Lin Yi had to fight. Every time he fell, Lin Yi told himself that he had to stand up, or else there would be nothing left. Another round of attacks began. Lin Yi endured the pain all over his body and wanted to stand up. But this time he really couldn't stand up. He felt like his body was falling apart and he was very sleepy and tired. He really wanted to close his eyes. In front of Lin Yi's eyes, the blood stains turned into a white light. He had an urge to be free. It was as if, behind the white light, he saw peace. That was the Jade Space. As long as he went to the Jade Space, Lin Yi would be able to rest. He wanted to walk over. Whoosh! A gust of wind beside his ears suddenly woke Lin Yi up. He had almost automatically entered the space of the Jade Pendant. That was too dangerous. If he had really entered the space of the Jade Pendant, he would have definitely died today. Lin Yi bit his tongue suddenly, and the pain brought him a moment of clarity. Lin Yi suddenly stood up, raised his fists and met Right 13's attack. Although Lin Yi seemed to be attacking with full strength every time, he was getting weaker and weaker. Fortunately, Right 13's palm wasn't Wu Qintian's palm. This time, in the loud bang, Lin Yi sharply heard the crisp sound of bones breaking. Lin Yi was a doctor and he was exceptionally sensitive to this sound. He was immediately delighted. He saw results again. Right 13's palm must have been broken by him. This made Lin Yi, who was originally unable to hold on, excited again. Before, it was swelling and now it was broken. If he continued like this, both of Right 13's palms would definitely be crippled. As soon as the thought popped up, Lin Yi suddenly perked up. He quickly channeled the art of dragon mastery and healed the injuries on his hands and meridians. He then stood up and looked at Right 13 with his head held high. Let's go again. Although Lin Yi's body was covered in blood and his pale face had a hint of death, Lin Yi's voice was so determined, without a hint of compromise. Although Guan Xian's mouth was sealed and she couldn't speak, her eyes weren't blindfolded. She saw every single scene of the battle between Lin Yi and Right 13. At that moment, Guan Xian's heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. She shook her head desperately and tears fell like rain. She wanted to stop Lin Yi and let him escape quickly, but she couldn't make any sound. Her weak whimpers didn't have any effect at all. Guan Xian was a nurse and came from a medical family. How could she not see that Lin Yi was now a crossbow? If this continued, Lin Yi would definitely die. When Kang Ming saw that Lin Yi was still able to get up, he immediately shouted, "Get rid of this kid." However, U13 was the only one who knew his own situation. His palms were about to be crippled by Lin Yi. He wasn't a physical cultivator. Although he used his palms weren't hard. If this continued, his hands would probably be crippled without a doubt. Although the inner sect's palm was crippled, it could be recovered with some medicine and pills, unlike the outer sect which would suffer heavy losses. However, after recovery it would not be as flexible as before. After all, no one was like Lin Yi who could use his own mantra to heal injuries, or use true qi to heal injuries like the Sun family. Relying on medicine was still a little lacking. Moreover, once the bones in his hands were shattered, even if he relied on medicine to recover, he would still be half crippled. Unless there was medicine that was third grade and above to reconnect bones and tendons. However, how could the Hidden Right family have such medicine? It was rare even in the Heavenly Elixir sect. How could they give it to him? Seeing that Lin Yi stood up again, Right 13 was annoyed. Since he became famous, he had never seen an Earth-class expert like Lin Yi who didn't care about his own life. One had to know that it was extremely difficult for an ordinary person to cultivate to Earth class. Even if it was a battle, they would fight if they could win and run if they couldn't. Unless there was a fatal blow, there was no room for retaliation. Now Lin Yi clearly had many opportunities to escape. Right 13 was even thinking that if Lin Yi ran, he wouldn't chase after him. However, Lin Yi didn't run. He stood up again and again to fight with him. This made Right 13 feel helpless. He wanted to curse out loud. Did you think it was easy for you to cultivate to Earth class? Did you have to fight to your death and cripple me before you stopped? However, seeing Lin Yi's firm tone and determined gaze, Right 13 knew that this guy was playing with his life. The soft feared the hard feared the unreasonable, and the unreasonable feared the reckless. This saying was also applicable among cultivators. Seeing that Lin Yi still wanted to come again, Right 13 was really a little afraid. Although he was confident that he could kill Lin Yi, the price he would have to pay was too high. He had no enmity with Lin Yi and was only here to help. If he killed Lin Yi, he wouldn't get any benefits. Instead, he would have to pay the price of crippling his palms. It was obvious which was more important. Therefore, when he thought of this, Right 13 retreated a little. He was different from Kang Ming. Whether Lin Yi died or not had nothing to do with him. Young Master Kang, this person is crazy. Let's go. Once the thought of retreating arose, Right 13 didn't want to tangle with Lin Yi anymore. His palms were his, and there was no need to lose them just to curry favor with Kang Ming. Besides, now that he had the pill recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, his mission was considered complete. When he returned to the Yu family, Right Jintian wouldn't blame him. At most, the Kang family would have some complaints. Go. Kang Ming was taken aback. He didn't expect that Right 13, who had the upper hand and was forcing Lin Yi to retreat, would suddenly want to leave. However, Right 13 didn't answer. Instead, he flew over and picked up Kang Ming. Although his hands were in pain and he really didn't want to run away with a person, if he left Kang Ming here, the Yu family would inevitably be criticized by others. They would say that the Yu family got rid of the donkey when it was no longer of use. If that happened, who would work for the Yu family in the future? Take her away too. Kang Ming wasn't willing to fail just like that. How could he let Guan Xian go so easily before he got the recipe? One more person wasn't a difficult thing for Right 13. Since he had already brought one up, there was no need for a second. However, just as Right 13's hand was about to grab Guan Xian, he suddenly felt a strong gust of wind coming at him from behind. Put her down. Lin Yi waved his fists and rushed at Right 13 as if his life depended on it. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1746. His life hangs by a thread. Chapter 1751. His life hangs by a thread. It could be said that Lin Yi's entire body was full of openings, but this kind of reckless madness made Yu Shisan shudder. He subconsciously let go of Guan Xian and suddenly met Lin Yi with his palm. Bang! There was a loud noise as Lin Yi's fists collided with Yu Shisan's palm again. Every time they collided, Lin Yi suffered a fatal blow. Now that Lin Yi was like a crossbow, this palm almost made Lin Yi spit out his organs. However, Lin Yi did not compromise. He gritted his teeth, endured the pain in his body and forcefully took the palm. His mouth was full of blood, but he said firmly, "You can leave, but if you take her away, I'll fight you to the death." Yu Shisan was really afraid of Lin Yi. This time, he clearly felt that the degree of fracture in his palm was much greater than before. Although he could kill Lin Yi if he continued to fight, what was the point of killing him? What if his palm was crippled? Yu Shisan glanced at Lin Yi, took a deep breath, and quickly left the place with Kang Ming without saying a word. As for Guan Xan, he was not in the mood to catch her. It was not worth it to compete with a lunatic like Lin Yi. Lin Yi's somewhat thin figure stood there and watched Yu Shisan leave. When he was far away, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. That was close. Lin Yi thought to himself. The only thing that kept him going was his willpower. If he were to fall, then both he and Guan Xan would be done for, so he gritted his teeth and persevered. He could see Yu Shisan's concerns, and so he fought him with his life on the line. Fortunately, Yu Shisan couldn't take it anymore, so he gave up. Lin Yi gritted his teeth, tore the ropes on Guan Xan's body and tore the seal on her mouth. "Lin Yi!" Guan Xan cried out as tears streamed down her cheeks. Lin Yi waved his hand and interrupted Guan Xan. "I can't hold on much longer. Tang Yun's car is just outside the door, under the shade of the tree." After that, Lin Yi fell to the ground. This time, Lin Yi could no longer stand up because Lin Yi was sure that Right 13 had left, so he had no scruples in his heart and could no longer hold on. Apart from his palms, there was not a single part of his body that was not injured. The moment he fainted, Lin Yi also entered the space of the jade pendant. Phew. Lin Yi could finally breathe a sigh of relief. As long as he didn't lose his life, there was a possibility of recovery. After entering the space of the jade pendant, Lin Yi felt a wave of lingering fear. This time he almost lost his life. It was a complete fluke that Lin Yi was able to escape. First of all, Right 13 did not know Lin Yi's background. Seeing Lin Yi stand up again and again, he was scared by Lin Yi's madness. However, Lin Yi knew that if the person he met today was not Right 13, but someone who had a deep hatred for him, it would definitely not be easy today. Also, if Right 13 did not practice martial arts that only relied on his palms, if he supplemented it with martial arts that relied on his legs or weapons, then it would be useless for Lin Yi even if he risked his life today. All along, Lin Yi had been conceited that he could fight opponents who were of a higher level than him. He relied on his trump card of condensing qi. This trump card allowed Lin Yi to be successful in every endeavor. Even when facing masters who were stronger than him, he was still calm. However, today it made Lin Yi feel deeply frustrated. Above the earth stage it was completely different. If the opponent had martial arts and started fighting as soon as they came up, then Lin Yi would have no advantage at all. He could only rely on his hot-bloodedness to fight with the opponent. This time he was lucky. Next time he might die. For the first time, Lin Yi had a deep desire and expectation for martial arts. Without martial arts to compete with the opponent, it was difficult for him to move forward. But to find a martial technique that was suitable for him to cultivate, it was even more difficult. Lin Yi had not touched the essence of Faubert's martial arts. He only cultivated it roughly. If he really fought with the opponent, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Just like today, if it was not for Lin Yi's ability to quickly recover from his injuries, he would have died long ago. The art of dragon mastery must have the existence of a martial arts technique that went with it. Only a martial arts technique that was compatible with the mantra could exert the greatest effect. This was also the reason why Faubert did not advise Lin Yi to casually cultivate martial arts. Right now, Lin Yi could not wait to return home. He wanted to open the second layer of the stone door. He wanted to see what kind of benefits awaited him behind the second layer of the stone door. It would be best if there was a powerful martial arts technique that could solve Lin Yi's current problem. As for Jiao Yazi, Lin Yi was too lazy to ask. At the moment, his memory had not been unlocked, so Lin Yi could not get any information from him. What he wanted to know he already knew. There was no need to ask anymore. Therefore, the first thing Lin Yi did after entering the space of the jade pendant was to cultivate. Guan Xan looked at Lin Yi on the ground. For a moment she did not know what to do. But when she remembered Lin Yi's last sentence, she hurriedly carried Lin Yi on her back. She did not know where a weak girl like her got her strength from. Although Lin Yi was not heavy, it was still a bit of a stretch for Guan Xan. But Guan Xan did it and did it without any pressure at all. She even forgot about Lin Yi's weight. She only had one thought in her mind, and that was to be moved. Deeply moved. She never would have thought that Lin Yi would risk his life to save her. All this while, although Guan Xian had a crush on Lin Yi did not respond to her at all. He only treated her as a friend. This made Guan Xian feel a little disappointed. But at this moment, Guan Xian realized how important she was to Lin Yi. Lin Yi's strength was obviously not as strong as Yu San, but Lin Yi risked his life to save her. Guan Xian really did not know how to repay Lin Yi. She only knew that if Lin Yi was fine, she could even die in his place. Looking at Lin Yi's dying body, Guan Xian was scared. She was really scared. She was afraid that she would never see Lin Yi again. She would feel guilty for the rest of her life. Guan Xian quickly ran out of the arena with Lin Yi on her back. Kang Mingming's car was long gone. Guan Xian looked around and saw a Jeep Cherokee under the shade of a tree not far away. It must be Lin Yi's car. The people in the car saw Guan Xian coming out with Lin Yi on her back and quickly got out of the car. Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu were also very anxious. They saw that Yu San drove away with Kang Mingming and Lin Yi didn't come out for a long time. They were worried, but Lin Yi told them not to go and check. They could only wait patiently. #target=_blank. Chapter 1747. Chapter 1752. Apology. But when they saw Guan Xian coming out of the arena with Lin Yi on her back, they couldn't hold it in anymore and ran over to her. Lin Yi. Tang Yun couldn't help but scream when she saw Guan Xian's unconscious body covered in blood. What's wrong with him? He got hurt trying to save me. Guan Xian's tears hadn't dried yet, and she couldn't hold it in anymore. Meng Yao and the others didn't look too good after hearing Guan Xian's words. How could they be happy that Lin Yi had gotten so heavily injured just to save Guan Xian? Tang Yun had always thought of Guan Xian as a love rival, and she wasn't as close to her as she was to Meng Yao. Meng Yao and Yushu on the other hand didn't like Guan Xian at all. Lin Yi got hurt in the bank because of her and now he was doing it again. Give me Lin Yi. Meng Yao didn't want Guan Xian to carry Lin Yi anymore. We rushed back from the journey for you and Lin Yi got hurt like this. Tang Yun's face darkened as well, but she still spoke up. Forget it, Yao. This isn't the time to talk about responsibility. Let's get Lin Yi home first. Aren't we going to the hospital? Guan Xian was surprised. No need. Meng Yao said coldly. She didn't know why, but Meng Yao wasn't happy. What was the relationship between Lin Yi and Guan Xian? Why would he risk his life to save her? But Meng Yao felt like she was the eunuch panicking instead of the emperor? Tang Yun didn't say anything, so why was she panicking? Right, she was fighting for Tang Yun. That's it, Meng Yao thought. Guan Xian could see Meng Yao's hostility towards her, and she didn't know what to do. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Guan Xian was worried about Lin Yi, and now she couldn't hold it in anymore. She was worried about Lin Yi too, and she didn't want Lin Yi to be like this. But she couldn't say anything and she couldn't stop them. Alright, Guan Xian sis, we're not blaming you. Tang Yun knew that as long as Lin Yi wasn't dead, there was hope for him to recover. This had happened many times in the past, so she wasn't too worried about him. Seeing that Lin Yi was still breathing, her tone became better. Yao is also very anxious, but he came to save you. It was his own decision. You don't need to feel too guilty. Meng Yao rolled her eyes at Tang Yun's words. I'm fighting for you and you're soft-hearted again? But Tang Yun was soft-hearted, and Meng Yao knew that Xiao wouldn't have become Lin Yi's small wife if it weren't for that, and she and Yushu wouldn't have allowed Lin Yi to stay in the villa. And so Meng Yao didn't say anything else. She was a soft-hearted person, and after hearing Tang Yun's words she realized that it was Lin Yi's decision to save Guan Xian, so it wasn't Guan Xian's fault. Meng Yao put Lin Yi in the car, and the driver was Guan Xuemin's house. She wasn't too happy with Guan Xian, but Lin Yi was in a situation like this, and Xuemin was the only one who could save him if something happened to him. Lin Yi could heal himself, but he was worried that accidents might happen. I'm sorry. It's all my fault, I got kidnapped. Guan Xian said guiltily. It's nothing. My attitude just now wasn't very good, I'm sorry. Meng Yao didn't want to put Lin Yi in a difficult position, so she didn't say anything. She was different from Tang Yun, who'd interacted with Guan Xian a couple of times, but Meng Yao and Guan Xian were just acquaintances. Lin Yi can heal himself, but we'll have to ask your grandpa to check if there's anything else. Tang Yun explained. Of course we'll do our best. Guan Xian nodded. I don't think it's necessary, Shield Bro's looking better and better, he's probably healing himself now. Yushu had been paying attention to Lin Yi's changes on the road. Oh, that's great. Tang Yun turned around to look at Lin Yi, and as expected, Lin Yi looked much better than before. Tang Yun let out a breath of relief. Guan Xian's tense heart relaxed after hearing Yushu's words. As long as Lin Yi was fine, everything was fine. Otherwise, she'd die of guilt for the rest of her life. Guan Shuamin was happy when he heard that his granddaughter was fine, but he was shocked when he heard that Lin Yi was on the verge of death. He rushed out of the villa and looked at Lin Yi with a serious expression. Is it that serious? Grandpa Guan, Lin Yi can heal himself, he should be fine now, don't worry too much. Tang Yun was very polite to Guan Shuamin. She knew that he was Lin Yi's business partner, so he was also Lin Yi's elder. We came here to wait and see. If there are any other problems, we'll ask for your help. After all, Lin Yi's injury is the most serious this time. Okay. Guan Shuamin didn't find it strange that Lin Yi could heal himself. Lin Yi was a doctor, and a miracle doctor at that. It wasn't strange that he could heal himself, but it was the first time Guan Shuamin heard that he could heal himself by lying down. However, Lin Yi was a practitioner and he couldn't be judged by common sense. Guan Shuamin quickly helped Tang Yun and the others move Lin Yi to the villa. After settling Lin Yi, Meng Yao and the others sat in the living room, and the atmosphere became a little awkward. Although Tang Yun said that she didn't blame Guan Xian on the way here, Guan Xian still felt uncomfortable. Lin Yi suffered so much for her, and she didn't know how to repay Lin Yi. For a girl, especially a beautiful girl, repaying a hero with her body was the best way to repay a hero. It sounded a little cliché, but it was a principle that never changed. The hero saved the beauty and the beauty loved the hero. In Guan Xian's heart, she had a good impression of Lin Yi. But now, even if Guan Xian wanted to repay him with her body, Tang Yun wouldn't agree. Guan Xian was older after all and had been working for quite some time. She had more experience in society than Tang Yun and the others, and she could tell with one look that Meng Yao and Yushu were interested in Lin Yi. Of course, they could also be good friends. Guan Xian was just a woman's intuition. Tang Yun, I've troubled Lin Yi this time. Because of my family's matters, I've caused him to get injured, I'm really sorry. Guan Shuamin sighed and said, I'd like to apologize for delaying your trip. Hashtag. Chapter 1748. Chapter 1753. Wake up, Grandpa Guan, you're exaggerating? Tang Yin stood up in a panic. Guan Xian is Lin Yi's good friend, and this was Lin Yi's decision as well. You don't need to explain to us, Lin Yi's decision is one we support. Besides, didn't we get out of danger this time? Although Lin Yi's injuries are quite serious, he can still recover on his own. Meng Yao and Yushu were a little embarrassed by the words, and Meng Yao added in. Yeah, Lin Yi's always been a hot-blooded man to his friends. When Shu and I were kidnapped, he was the one who risked his life to protect us. The misunderstanding and awkwardness between the two disappeared in an instant. Thinking about it, Lin Yi got injured when he helped Tang Yin, and when he saved Meng Yao and Shu. This was Lin Yi's personality, and it wasn't worth it to hurt their relationship. The only thing they could do now was wait for Lin Yi to wake up. Lin Yi was lying on the bed, but he knew what was going on outside. He let out a sigh of relief when he heard that the people outside were no longer arguing about him. It was indeed dangerous this time, and Lin Yi would have to think twice if something like this happened again in the future. A battle between Earth-class masters was different from a mystic class. Once they used their techniques, the situation would be different. If Lin Yi were to be as impulsive as before, he'd definitely be at a disadvantage. With the idea of opening the second stone door, Lin Yi couldn't wait to return home. He worked hard to heal his injuries, but Lin Yi's injuries were too serious this time. Even though Lin Yi was an Earth class now and his recovery speed was much faster than when he was a Mystic class, it still took him 1 day and 1 night to fully recover. When Lin Yi came out of the space of the Jade Pendant, it was already the evening of the next day. Meng Yao, Yushu, Tang Yun, Guan Shuamin and Guan Xian didn't sleep at all. They had ordered takeout during the day, but Lin Yi didn't wake up. No one had an appetite, so the food was piled up on the coffee table. However, after a night of not resting, everyone was exhausted. Therefore they closed their eyes and rested, but they didn't fall asleep. Lin Yi walked out of the living room and saw everyone in the living room. He couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. There's so much delicious food. Haven't you eaten? Are they all waiting for me? I'm starving. If you don't eat, I'll eat it all. Lin Yi, you're awake? Guan Xian was the one who felt the most guilty. She didn't understand Lin Yi the most. Tang Yun and Meng Yao both said that Lin Yi was fine, and that he could recover on his own. But Guan Xian wasn't so sure. Even when she was resting, she was still worried. When she heard Lin Yi's voice, she was the first to jump up. She looked at Lin Yi in surprise. You're fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Lin Yi smiled bitterly as he looked at his bloody clothes. Let's eat something first, then take a shower and change my clothes. You guys don't mind, do you? Of course not. Guan Xen looked at the energetic Lin Yi and shook her head excitedly. See, I told you that Shield Bro was fine. He's the best. Yushu had been the calmest person from the start. She had an inexplicable confidence in Lin Yi. Are we going to find Kong Ming Ming for revenge now? Revenge? Of course we will, but not now. Lin Yi's eyes sharpened. He didn't know why House Kong had invited an Earth class. He didn't know what their relationship was with House Kong. Even if Lin Yi wanted to take revenge, he had to think twice. He was lucky enough to escape this time, but he wouldn't be so lucky if he was surrounded by 2 or more Earth-class masters. Shu, don't talk nonsense. Lin Yi knows what he's doing. Mingyao didn't want Yushu to get into trouble. It's fine, ha. Lin Yi smiled. He picked up a drumstick and started eating. Right, XN, who's that Earth-class master? Did Kong Ming Ming mention him before? He didn't? Guan Xen thought about it carefully and shook her head. That master seemed to be a man of few words. He didn't speak at all. He only responded a few times when Kong Xiaoming talked to him, but he didn't address him as well. Lin Yi nodded. It seemed like he wouldn't be able to get any useful information from Guan Xen. He could only try to find out from the side. Elder Guan, let's keep a low profile for the company. I'll talk to Fatty Lai. We shouldn't have any conflicts with House Kong for now. We'll talk about it when I come back. Lin Yi's trip back to his hometown this time was to bring Tang Yun and Meng Yao on a vacation. But in reality, it was to open the second stone door. As a result, Lin Yi couldn't allow any mishaps. He wouldn't be able to take care of Songshan's situation when he got to West Star Village. The medical company, on the other hand, kept a low profile for now. As long as they didn't have any conflicts with House Kong, there shouldn't be any problems. After all, House Kong had gotten the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. It would be extremely difficult for them to develop the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. If they focused all their energy on this, they wouldn't have the time to cause trouble for Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. This gave Lin Yi some breathing space. As long as he could catch his breath, he'd be able to turn the tables and wash away the humiliation he'd suffered. After all, Lin Yi was very confident in the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery. The first stage was already very overpowered. How strong would the second stage be? I understand. Don't worry, we won't act rashly when you're not here, Guan Shuamin said. Haha, alright, let's eat. It was a close shave this time. Yin Shu, what's with your faces? Lin Yi said as he ate. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief when they saw that Lin Yi was fine. They were starting to feel hungry, and so they started eating with Lin Yi inside House Kang's villa. Yu Zhenqian came and sat in the main seat in the living room. Behind him was Yu Shisan. Opposite him was House Kang's old man, Dr. Kong. Behind Dr. Kong was Kong Ming Ming. The cooperation between House Yu and House Kong was quite successful. Although Yu Shisan was injured in the end, they got the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. I thought it was some good stuff. Turns out it's just a recipe for an injury medicine and a painkiller. Do you guys have to be like this? When Yu Zhenqian found out that Kong Ming Ming wanted these 2 recipes, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Hashtag. Chapter 1749. This. Dr. Kong was stunned. So was Kong Ming? I wouldn't have asked Right Shisan to help you if I knew it was this kind of prescription. I didn't expect Lin Yi to be so desperate. If it wasn't for Right Shisan's decisiveness in retreating, Lin Yi would have been crippled even if he had to kill him. Yu Zhenqian couldn't help but shake his head when he heard the situation. He really didn't expect Lin Yi to be like that. Yeah, it's a good thing Lin Yi didn't come and obediently hand over the prescription for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Otherwise, he would have come at us with his life. We might have gotten nothing. Kong Ming Ming was still fearful after understanding what happened. At that time, he was still wondering why Right Shisan ran away after gaining the upper hand. So there was more to it. Young Master Yu, you mean? Dr. Kong asked carefully. If you want the formula for injury medicine and analgesics, our Yu family has it too. Yu Zhenqian said arrogantly. This is the most basic prescription. Do you need to take such a risk? I could have given it to you earlier. Why bother? You have it? Dr. Kong was startled, then his face lit up with joy. Of course. It's normal for us martial artists to treat injuries and relieve pain, Yu Zhenqian nodded. But Miracle Dr. Guan's medicine company's injury medicine and painkillers are not only effective, but they're also cheap. Kong Ming Ming said, we have the prescription for golden creation too, but it's expensive. It's not competitive at all. That's easy. You want the cheaper one, right? We also have a golden creation prescription that's slightly lower in quality. It's quite cheap. Your bottle only costs a few yuan. Is the same for the painkillers too, you can get it for a few yuan. Yu Jintian said, of course the effect won't be as miraculous as yours. Your golden creation can stop bleeding in a few seconds. Mine takes more than 10 seconds. His painkillers take effect immediately, but mine takes a few minutes. Is there a problem with that? No problem. There's no problem at all. Dr. Kong was overjoyed and said, who can feel such a small difference in effectiveness? Even if there is a gap, our prices are cheap, and we can still occupy a certain market share. This time we must take back the market share that we have lost. Thank you, young Master Yu. Kong Ming also expressed his gratitude. That's nothing much. It's just a small matter. Alright, since you guys are in the medical business, we can entrust you to sell some of our elixirs in the future. This way, not only will you guys earn a reputation, you will also have money. Since Right Jintian had obtained the elixir formula, he was naturally very generous to the Kong family. Thank you so much. Kong Ming said excitedly, in the future our Kong family will rely on the Yu family. For the Yu family and the Kong family, this cooperation was a win-win situation. Both sides had obtained the benefits they wanted. As for Lin Yi, he was ready to embark on his journey again. Elder Guan Xinxin will be leaving now. We won't disturb you anymore. If there's anything, call us anytime. Lin Yi and the others finished their lunch and were ready to leave. Okay, be careful on the road. Guan Shuamin said. Guan Xan stood at the side wanting to say something but hesitating. She wanted to say something but she couldn't because Tang Yun and Meng Yao were there. Xinxin, what do you want to say? Lin Yi saw Guan Xan's strange expression and asked. Guan Xan pursed her lips, not knowing what to say. Yun Yao Shu, wait for me in the car. Lin Yi saw that Guan Xan didn't want to say it in front of others, so he ordered. Okay. Tang Yun wasn't jealous. Since Lin Yi saved Guan Xan, it was enough to show how important Guan Xan was in Lin Yi's heart. However, the two hadn't developed into a couple yet, so Tang Yun wasn't too worried. If they wanted to develop, they would have done so long ago. It wasn't something that could be changed in a short period of time. If they really wanted to develop, she wouldn't be able to stop it. Meng Yao and Yushu didn't say anything. From their point of view, Guan Xan probably wanted to say some words of thanks in private, so they got in the car with Tang Yun. Can you say it now? Lin Yi smiled. Guan Xan blushed, a little embarrassed. I'm going to quit my job soon to study more advanced medical knowledge. I won't be able to see you before I leave, so I wanted to say goodbye in advance. Oh? You've made up your mind? Lin Yi knew about Guan Xan. Yes, I'll be leaving in a few days, Guan Xan said. Study hard and improve every day. Lin Yi wanted to encourage Guan Xan, but that was all he could think of. Guan Xan couldn't help but smile. I'm not a kid anymore, of course I'll work hard. That's a good thing, and it's also one of Grandpa Guan's wishes, Lin Yi said. Yeah. Lin Yi, I'm going to study, it might be pretty strict. I don't think I'll have time to come back often. We won't be able to see each other often. Guan Xan lowered her head, a little embarrassed. After a while she mustered up all her courage and said, wait for me to come back, I'll be your assistant for sure. Lin Yi paused, then smiled. Okay, I'll wait for you. Medical knowledge was only a support to Lin Yi. It was what Lin Yi was after, but since Guan Xan had this thought, he didn't want to discourage her. Guan Xan nodded, then goodbye, have a safe journey. Okay. Lin Yi didn't say anything else and got in the car. As for what Guan Xan and Lin Yi talked about, Tang Yun and the others didn't ask. Everyone had their own thoughts, and asking too much would make it seem like they didn't trust Lin Yi. Before she left, Meng Yao gave Pingzhan a call. She hadn't gone home yet, and while it was only halfway through, she still had to let her family know. Hello? Yao, what do you need from Daddy? Pengzhan's voice sounded very excited after the call was connected, as if he had found something good. Daddy, something happened on the way, so we came back. We're in Songshan now, we haven't left yet. Where are you? Should we go see you? Meng Yao asked. I'm busy at the company, so don't come. Go have fun, I've been too busy lately, I can't spend time with you guys. Pengzhan said. On the other side of the phone, someone was saying something to Pengzhan. That's fine, Daddy, take care of yourself, don't overwork yourself. Meng Yao reminded. Chapter 1750. Don't worry, Daddy's big project is starting to pay off. It's only been a few days and the company's cash flow has more than doubled. Ah. Pengzhan couldn't help but laugh as he spoke. Alright. Congratulations. Meng Yao didn't know much about the company's operations, but earning money was a good thing after all. Alright, Yao, enjoy yourself. Daddy needs to do something, there's something I need to do here. Pengzhan said. Okay, bye Daddy. Meng Yao hung up and shook her head. She turned to Lin Yi. Let's go, Daddy's too busy, he doesn't have time. Lin Yi wanted to say something, but he didn't say anything after some hesitation. He didn't know much about business, but he'd overheard Meng Yao's conversation from the sidelines. It didn't make sense for a company like Pengzhan to be able to double their capital in such a short amount of time. Pengzhan Industries wasn't a tech company, they didn't have any inventions, so there was no way they could double their capital in such a short amount of time. But Pengzhan was a veteran in the business world, and he shouldn't make any mistakes. Pengzhan Industries received a call from Mingyue just as he hung up. Broen, how's it going? Pengzhan asked. Haha, congratulations, we've earned another 10% from our investment. And Mingyue said proudly. No way? We earned that much again? Pengzhan said, surprised. Of course. This trader is a master Jianghu met when he was studying abroad, he's quite familiar with the futures market. And Mingyue said, if he hadn't offended someone overseas, he wouldn't have come to me. Then, should we increase our investment? Pengzhan asked, a little tempted. Forget it, it's just for fun. We all have our own businesses, it's fine. And Mingyue said, plus Bro Chu, do you still have money? All your businesses are real estate, right? That's true. I'll think about it. Pengzhan said, a little regretful. Okay, that's all for now, I'll let you know if there's any news. And Mingyue said, alright, thanks for the trouble, Broen, Pengzhan said quickly. After hanging up, and Mingyue gave Jiangwen a thumbs up. Jiangwen, that's a good idea. You've tricked Chu Pengzhan step by step and it's just as you expected, he's going to invest more, of course. Who wouldn't be tempted by such a huge profit? Jiangwen said. Let's wait a bit longer. We'll provoke him a bit more in a couple of days, I think he'll act up soon. But what if he stops while he's ahead? Won't we lose money? And Mingyue was a little worried. After all, it was all just a story and Mingyue had made up, and the money Pengzhan had brought over was still in Mingyue's company account, and Mingyue had only told Pengzhan about it when she saw that it was making money. Don't worry, father. The hypnotist has already given him a hint. He'll go crazy for sure. Jiangwen said without worry. At that time the entire Pengzhan Industries will be ours. And I'm relieved now that you've said that. And Mingyue nodded. On this day Lin Yi and the others arrived at a small town near the highway. They were planning to eat and stay for the night. They were getting closer and closer to West Star Village. Lin Yi didn't travel day and night. He was a practitioner, but Tang Yun and the others weren't. They wouldn't be able to rest well in the car and they'd be very tired the next day. Plus, they'd stayed at various small towns and they'd stroll around the town's market at night. This was also Meng Yao and Yushu's first time on a road trip. They used to travel a lot, but they didn't know how to drive, so they'd never experienced this kind of stop-and-go experience. At night, they had dinner near the Express Hotel, and as usual, they went to the town's night market. There weren't many shops in the town, only a huge market. Here they could buy all sorts of things. Meng Yao and the others lived in a big city, so they hadn't experienced it before. However, this place wasn't too different from a night market. Of course, the market mostly sold local products and daily necessities. It wasn't like the city's night market that sold snacks and trinkets. As for local specialties, they no longer bought any. The trunk of the car was already full. Originally, they planned to buy some local specialties every time they went to a place, but as they bought and bought, they unknowingly had too much. If they bought any more, they would not be able to fit it all. So, they were just here to watch. I heard that the bastard hunted today and killed a legendary Black Phoenix? Black Phoenix? I think it's wild. Who knows? But the price is so high, only an idiot would buy it. Yeah, even if it's a phoenix, it can't fly after eating it. You only know how to eat. He killed it, what else can it do other than eat? That's true. Lin Yi and the others were walking around the market looking at the local specialties when they overheard two stall owners talking at a nearby stall. Out of curiosity, Lin Yi asked casually, what's a black phoenix? Who knows? I heard it's a black phoenix, a spirit beast in the dark night mountain. Of course it's just a legend. I think it's a black chicken. The stall owner answered casually. Lin Yi was just asking casually, but when he heard it was a spirit beast, his heart skipped a beat. Spirit beast? What's that? Is it like those animals in the novels that can fly? Spirit beast? I don't know what a spirit beast is, but the older generation said that there are spirit beasts on this mountain, but they're very rare. It's said that drinking their blood can prolong one's life. The stall owner said, as for what you're talking about, I've never heard of it. Okay, thank you. Lin Yi nodded. Shield bro, are you going to see that black phoenix? Yushu guessed Lin Yi's intention when she saw him stand up. Yeah, I want to join in the fun. Linny didn't say it clearly. It's over there. You guys can go take a look, but that thing, hee, only an idiot would buy it. The stall owner pointed at a direction in the market. Linny didn't say anything else. He brought Tang Yun and the others to the direction the stall owner pointed to. Chapter 1751. As expected, there was a group of people surrounding a stall to watch the show. Behind the stall stood a burly man. Above his head was a signboard with the words Wang Ba Hunter's Specialty written on it. Beside Wang Ba was a chopping board. On the chopping board there were some beast carcasses. There were wild boars, robes, pheasants, etc. But at the front of the chopping board, the most conspicuous place, there was a black pheasant-like animal carcass. I say, Wang Ba, are you crazy for money? Is this a black phoenix? A young man pointed at the black pheasant's carcass and said to the man called Wang Ba, I've checked the catalog. This is clearly the legendary black phoenix. If you don't want to buy it, just stand aside and watch. There will always be someone who knows. Wang Ba didn't seem to want to argue with the young man. Tisich, the black phoenix is a legendary spirit beast. Although I do not know what a spirit beast is, since it is a spirit beast, it must be very powerful. With your level of skill, you think you can kill a spirit beast? The young man said, unconvinced. Wang Ba was embarrassed, but he said, if you say it's not, then it's not. I'll sell it just like this. 10,000, take it or leave it. If not, I'll go home and eat it myself. Linny looked at the black phoenix and frowned. Linny also came from a mountain village. His little brother Erguden's family was a hunter, so Linny had some understanding of pheasants. This thing in front of him was definitely not a pheasant. Although the two were similar, they were definitely different. Linny didn't know what it was exactly, so he couldn't rule out the possibility of it being a spirit beast. As for Wang Ba being able to kill spirit beasts, it wasn't surprising. Spirit beasts like the skybolt pig that didn't have any attack abilities were easy to kill. Not all spirit beasts had attack abilities. Moreover, spirit beasts had different levels of strength. However, Linny was a little confused. There were spirit beasts nearby? Generally, the places where spirit beasts appeared were places with extremely dense heaven and earth spiritual qi. Those places were often occupied by sects and clans. Could it be that there were sects nearby? 10,000 yuan. Although it wasn't a lot for Lin Yi, it was already a sky-high price for these simple mountain people. Therefore, they looked at Wang Laolu with ridicule. Most of the people nearby were here to watch the show, but there wasn't anyone who was interested in buying it. If Wang Laolu was sold for a few hundred yuan, someone might buy it to try it. However, it was not worth it to buy a pheasant for 10,000 yuan. Is this a phoenix? Lin Yi asked. Wang Laolu had faced too many questions today, so he didn't want to answer Lin Yi's question. However, when he looked up, he saw that Lin Yi and the others were obviously wearing big city clothes. They must be a few tourists from other places, so his eyes lit up. Maybe these city people knew their stuff, so he introduced them with a smile. You are tourists from other places, right? Yeah, that's why I'm curious. Lin Yi nodded with a smile. That's right, you don't know the legend around here. Wang Laolu said seriously, the town we live in is called Dark Night Town, and there's a mountain nearby called Dark Night Spirit Mountain. The mountain range around it is called Dark Night Mountain, and that's where I hunt. Dark Night Spirit Mountain? Lin Yi paused. Why did it sound like an ice mountain? Was it really a place with dense qi? There were spirit beasts in the ice mountain. Naturally, Lin Yi knew about this. For example, the white python that Chi-Chi had met was a spirit beast. At least, Lin Yi didn't know of any other species that was the same as the white python. It was a snake, but it wasn't a snake. The skybolt pig beside Lin Yi was the same. It was a pig, but it didn't really look like one. How could there be such a small pig? It was like the chibi pig in the manga. These were all mutated spirit beasts that lived in places with dense qi. Zhang Liju's tomb was the same. Yes, according to the older generation, a long time ago, there was a sect on the Dark Night Spirit Mountain called the Dark Night Palace. It was a very powerful sect. The people there were all martial arts masters and they could live forever. Old Wang said, and near the Dark Night Palace, there were some spiritual beasts. These spiritual beasts were different from normal beasts. They had intelligence and could become immortals just like the people of the Dark Night Palace. Among them, the most famous was a black phoenix called the Dark Phoenix. Legend has it that those who eat the Dark Phoenix can live forever. Wang Laolu, are you trying to scare people with the fairy tales that put your kids to sleep? Beside Wang Laoyu's stall, a woman selling goods at a hunter's stall couldn't help but tease him. Today Wang Laolu had hunted a strange pheasant, and while he didn't sell it, he did sell quite a lot of other beasts. It affected his business and the woman wasn't too happy about it. Fairy tales aren't necessarily fake. Didn't you hear this story when you were young? You grew up with a naked baby and listened to a grandpa selling popcorn telling stories under the shade of a big tree. Didn't you believe it too? Wang Laolu retorted, and like I said, it's from the older generation, it's not like I made it up. What are you so worried about? Umph. The woman didn't know what to say, but she still humphed. All right, Uncle Wang, can you continue? Linny smiled. I think it's quite interesting. All right, then let's continue. They say that people who eat the dark phoenix can live forever, and they can even become Wolin masters. Wang Laolu said. If it's that good, why don't you eat it yourself? The woman curled her lips in disdain. It's useless for a rough person like me to eat it, and I don't know how to eat it. It's better to sell it for money. Wang Laoyo's face turned red. In fact, he didn't really believe in legends, or else why would he sell it? Sounds good. Let's buy it then. Can you make it cheaper? Linny asked calmly, but in his heart, he was in a state of shock. The legend might not be groundless. On the Dark Night Spiritual Mountain, there might really be a Dark Night Palace. Perhaps it was an existence similar to the Ice Palace, that kind of ancient sect, but they didn't come into contact with the secular world, so these people thought it was just a legend. It's not cheap. Wang Laolu have already said it. If I can't sell it for 10,000, I'll take it back and put it into soup. Wang Laolu was a straightforward person, and he cared about his reputation. Chapter 1752. I see. Have you been to that Dark Night Spirit Mountain? Linny asked. Who would dare to go there? It's the middle of the mountain, and in the middle of the Dark Night Mountain, there's a natural moat. It's a ring-shaped ravine so deep that you can't see the bottom. Who can climb over it? Wang Laolu shook his head. Plus, it's always shrouded in mist. I'm afraid you won't be able to come back. I see. Linny nodded. So you're saying that the Black Phoenix came from there? Of course you didn't see how high it flew. It's quite high. Luckily, I'm an experienced hunter, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to catch it. Wang Laolu bragged proudly. Who doesn't know how to brag? The woman couldn't help but say. Fine. If that's the case, I'll buy it and try it. Linny nodded and took out a stack of cash from his backpack. He passed it to Wang Laolu. You really bought it? Wang Laolu couldn't believe his eyes. He earned 10,000 yuan in a blink of an eye? Yes, I'll try it on the road. Linny laughed. In fact, he didn't know why he spent 10,000 yuan on this so-called Black Phoenix. However, when he saw the Black Phoenix, the jade seemed to give him a strong hint, and he had the urge to buy it. Okay. Wang Laolu was overjoyed. He quickly packed up the Black Phoenix and gave it to Linny. He took the 10,000 yuan as if he was afraid that Linny would regret it. After Linny bought the Black Phoenix, he didn't stop. He brought Tang Yun, Chu Mengyao and Shu back to the hotel. Wang Laolu kept the 10,000 yuan under everyone's envious eyes. To the people of the town, this was not a small amount of income. As for the woman at the stall next to them, she was incomparably jealous. Fortunately, the onlookers had all dispersed, and her business had also recovered. Just when everyone was sighing at Wang Laoyo's luck, Linny was already targeted. Shield bro, this doesn't look like the way back to the hotel. Did you remember wrongly? Yushu noticed that Linny seemed to be walking further and further away until he came to a very remote place. There were no villages or shops in front of him, and all he could see was a field of crops. Linny stopped and turned around, blocking Tang Yun, Mengyao and Yushu behind him. You've been following us for so long, shouldn't you come out now? Behind Linny, 3 people suddenly appeared on the empty path. They were all masked and dressed in black. The leader seemed surprised that Linny had discovered them. How did you discover us? You've been following me since the market. If I didn't realize it, wouldn't I be too slow? Linny didn't answer the man's question directly. Instead, he asked a question of his own. You even know this? The leader was surprised. Kid, if you've discovered us, then so be it. If that's the case, then take out all your belongings. TSK 10,000 to buy a wild chicken. You're really rich. If you don't share some with us, it'll be unforgivable. You're here and you're not running away. Instead, you're asking for money. I've never seen someone as stupid as you. Linny shook his head. What do you mean? The leader paused. Why don't you take a look at where we are? Do you think a tourist would come to a place like this in the middle of the night? 3 golden class masters? Linny asked faintly. Who are you? The leader felt that something was wrong. Yeah, Linny and these tourists, what were they trying to do by coming to a place like this? And when Linny pointed out their strengths, the leader finally understood that they weren't good people. They probably lured them here on purpose. Otherwise, if they dared to lure them here knowing that they were golden class masters, then they must have something up their sleeves. Tourists? Lin Yi answered faintly. What about you guys? Robbing? The robbers here are really strong. Golden class masters. Usually, golden class masters would be bodyguards for rich people. This kind of robbing was not skillful and dangerous. How could it compare to being a guard? Therefore, Lin Yi was very confused about their identities. We are members of the Crazy Horse Gang. Are you one of them too? The leader's tone towards Lin Yi was obviously different. Lin Yi slightly activated the art of dragon mastery. The strength of the early phase of Earth class flashed. This was to intimidate these people so that they wouldn't dare to act rashly. Otherwise, from their tone, they seemed to belong to a local gang, a type of horse gang. There seemed to be quite a number of them. But thinking about it, there was a spirit mountain nearby, and the spirit chi of heaven and earth was abundant. It wasn't strange for some people to gather in the vicinity and borrow the spirit chi to rob foreign merchants. As long as they didn't affect the local residents, they wouldn't reject the Crazy Horse Gang. But Lin Yi didn't want to cause any trouble on the journey. He wasn't afraid of himself, but if he brought 3 girls who had no strength, it wouldn't be fun if they were ambushed by a group of horse gangs. Therefore Lin Yi showed his strength. With the strength of an early phase of Earth class, these people wouldn't dare to act rashly no matter how daring they were. Unless they were stupid and didn't know the difference between Golden class and Earth class. Earth class early phase. Just as Lin Yi had expected, after a flash of shock passed through the leader's eyes, his tone became even more respectful. Senior, are you a guest of the Dark Palace? You know of the Dark Palace? Lin Yi asked without changing his expression. This wasn't the first time he'd heard of this name, but Lin Yi didn't know what the Dark Palace was. He could only get some information from the horse gang. The Crazy Horse Gang that I'm with makes a living here, so of course I know about the Dark Palace. The man said. We're only at the outskirts of the Dark Mountain, we won't enter the Dark Mountain's perimeter. Senior, please don't tell the Dark Palace about what happened today. If it causes trouble for the Crazy Horse Gang, then I'll be a sinner. But don't worry, Senior, I'll prepare a generous gift for you. I hope Senior won't cause trouble for my gang. After seeing Lin Yi's strength, this person didn't even have the thought of fighting against Lin Yi. The leader of the Crazy Horse Gang was only an early phase of Mystic Class Master. In front of Lin Yi, he was just going to die. Their actions here were tacitly approved by the Dark Palace. As long as they didn't enter the perimeter of the Dark Mountain, the Dark Palace wouldn't bother them. Chapter 1753. But this person was afraid that if Lin Yi provoked them, then the Wild Horse Gang would be wiped out. That was why he kept his voice low. There's no need for the gift. Let's forget about it. I'm just a guest, so I won't say anything. Lin Yi didn't say what kind of guest he was. He could be a guest of the Ice Palace or a tourist from the town. Thank you. The man cupped his fists in relief. From what he could see, Lin Yi was an Earth class master. If he said he wouldn't care, then naturally he wouldn't care about these Golden class masters. After thanking him, they left in a hurry. Lin Yi, on the other hand, took a deep breath. It seemed like there really was an ancient sect here called the Dark Palace. How did it compare to the Ice Palace? But even knowing this, Lin Yi didn't have the intention to visit. Putting aside the fact that he was only an Earth class early phase, that was already unreachable in the eyes of the bandits, but after witnessing the strength of the Ice Palace, he knew that his strength was only at the level of an inner disciple. It wasn't much. Thinking about this, Lin Yi was even more curious about the black phoenix in his hand. Would it really be good to eat this thing? Let's go back, Lin Yi said to Tang Yun and the others. Shield bro, the Dark Palace that the man and the hunter talked about, do they really exist? Yushu asked curiously. I think so. Lin Yi nodded, but it might be the same as the Ice Palace. Let's not ask about it. After staying here we'll leave. Lin Yi didn't want to have too much to do with these mysterious ancient sections. At least, Lin Yi hadn't reached that level yet, so he wouldn't have anything to do with them. After the group returned to the hotel, Lin Yi started to clean up the black phoenix, preparing to make phoenix soup for everyone. For this, Lin Yi rented an induction cooker from the hotel to cook for the girls. Alright, I'm going. You guys look after the pot and add water often. This thing is tough, so it needs to be cooked for a while, Lin Yi said to Tang Yun and the others. Okay, Tang Yun nodded. On the other hand, Lin Yi went back to his room. On the way, whenever he had time, Lin Yi would go. Lin Yi's strength was at the early phase of Earth class, but it wasn't as strong as the early phase. There was still some distance between the early phase and the peak of Earth class. So Lin Yi wanted to increase his strength to the early phase of Earth class after entering the stone door. That way, when he reached the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, he could quickly reach the peak early phase. The black phoenix was indeed different from normal pheasants. It had been cooked in the pot for half an hour, and it didn't look like it was cooked. But looking after the pot was something that required a lot of patience. The three girls discussed, and two of them went to the room to watch TV, leaving one to look after the pot and add water. Tang Yun stayed here first, then Yushu after half an hour, and finally Meng Yao. After about half an hour, Tang Yun was ready to change shifts, but what she saw next stunned her. All of a sudden, Meng Yao opened the lid and took out the black phoenix, putting it in her mouth and swallowing it. "Yao Yao, what are you doing?" Tang Yun jumped and quickly called out. But Meng Yao didn't seem to hear anything. Her eyes were closed as if she was asleep, and her whole body looked like she was sleepwalking. Yushu heard Tang Yun scream and quickly ran out. She saw Meng Yao's weird situation and also called out, "Yao Yao sis, what are you doing?" Meng Yao didn't stop because of Yushu's words. She continued to put the whole black phoenix into her mouth. "I'll stop her." Yushu wanted to stop Meng Yao, but Tang Yun pulled her back. "Shu, hurry and find Linny. Yao Yao seems to be sleepwalking. I heard that people who sleepwalk can't be woken up easily, it will cause harm to the body." Tang Yun vaguely remembered that she had read about sleepwalking in a book. "Okay, I'll go find Linny." Shu nodded and quickly ran to Lin Yi's room. She wanted to knock on the door, but she hesitated. Lin Yi said that he wanted to go. Would it disturb him if she knocked on the door? So, what's the matter? Although Lin Yi was there, he was still paying attention to the movements outside the room. Although the people from the Wild Horse Gang had left, and the chances of them coming back to cause trouble for Lin Yi were very small, Lin Yi didn't dare to let his guard down since he was always careful. However, Lin Yi didn't see the Crazy Horse Gang, but he heard Shu's footsteps. Lin Yi's hearing was sharper than most people's, and he could distinguish the footsteps of people he was familiar with if he listened carefully, especially the way Shu was walking. "Shil bro, it's bad. Yao Yao sis wants to eat it alone." Yushu heard Lin Yi's voice, so she quickly pushed the door open and said to Lin Yi, "Eat it alone? What do you mean?" Lin Yi was slightly stunned. "You will know when you see." Yushu pulled Lin Yi out. Although Lin Yi was surprised, he still followed Yushu out of the room and went to the room next door. He was shocked by the scene in front of him. Meng Yao was swallowing the black phoenix into her stomach, and the moment Lin Yi entered the room, Meng Yao swallowed the black phoenix whole. Lin Yi was stunned, Yushu was stunned, and Tang Yun was shocked, but she didn't dare to stop it. It was hard to imagine how Meng Yao swallowed such a big black phoenix. Were her mouth and stomach that big? However, the truth was in front of him, and Lin Yi had to believe it. "Yao Yao?" Lin Yi tried to call, but Meng Yao didn't hear him. Her eyes were still closed, as if she was digesting the black phoenix. She stood there without moving. Lin Yi didn't know what to do with the strange scene in front of him, and he could only stand there and watch the situation unfold. After a while, Meng Yao suddenly opened her eyes, but her eyes were clear, as if she didn't see the people in the room. She turned her head and stared at one direction, and a golden color flashed in her eyes. Then her whole body emitted a golden light, and it stopped behind her, forming a pair of golden wings, shining with dazzling light. Chapter 1754. If what happened before was shocking, then what was happening now was even more shocking. They didn't know what happened to Meng Yao. Suddenly Meng Yao let out a clear, crisp cry, like the cry of a bird. It made Lin Yi and the others shiver. The golden light on Meng Yao's body dimmed, and the golden wings on her back disappeared as well. She returned to her normal skin color, and with a shake of her body she fell to the ground. The whole process lasted for about half an hour. It was only at this moment that Lin Yi dared to walk over and pick Meng Yao up from the ground. He placed her on the bed and quickly checked her body condition. But he didn't find anything out of the ordinary after checking. Meng Yao's pulse was normal and her stomach wasn't bulging either. Her stomach was still flat. Who knew where the black phoenix had gone to, or if it had been digested in just half an hour? "Shil bro, how's Yao Yao sis?" Yushu asked anxiously. "Everything looks normal." Lin Yi shook his head and said, "Nothing out of the ordinary." Then just now. Tang Yun recalled what happened just now, and her heart was still pounding. It was simply too strange. It was as if Meng Yao had turned into a phoenix at that moment. Meng Yao felt like she was hallucinating. "I'm not sure, maybe it's the aftereffects of eating the black phoenix, but from the looks of it she's fine," Lin Yi said. "Then, when will she wake up?" Yushu asked. "I'm not sure. She looks like she's asleep now, we just need to wait for her to wake up naturally." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He had never seen something like this before. He wouldn't have bought the black phoenix if he knew it was so strange. It'd be his fault if Meng Yao got sick from eating it. Then now Yushu let out a breath of relief when she heard that Meng Yao was fine. "Right now I don't know. But to avoid any accidents, let's wait for her to wake up on her own." Lin Yi didn't dare to forcefully wake Meng Yao up. He was afraid that something might go wrong. Alright. I wanted to try that black phoenix, but it's so scary. It's a shame I didn't. Yushu said with a pat on her chest. Yao Yao, you're in big trouble now that you're eating it alone. That doesn't seem to be her intention. We talked to her but she didn't answer. She didn't seem to have any self-awareness at the time. Tang Yun had been staying in the room to observe Meng Yao's movements, so she was the one who observed it the most carefully. That's true. Sister Yao Yao isn't someone who eats alone. Xiao Shu nodded and said, but the situation just now was really scary. I don't know what happened. Everything can only wait for Yao Yao to wake up. Lin Yi didn't know what was going on either. He shrugged and said, let's rest early. We won't be able to eat, huh? Yeah, let's rest then. We'll wait for Yao Yao sis to wake up tomorrow? Yushu nodded. Lin Yi had a lot of questions as well, but he couldn't get an answer right now. He could only wait until tomorrow. Perhaps that black phoenix really was some kind of spiritual beast, and they couldn't just eat it randomly. But Meng Yao accidentally ate it, and that led to the current situation. Fortunately, nothing else happened to Meng Yao other than the image she'd shown him. Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. After returning to his room, Lin Yi continued. Lin Yi and the others, on the other hand, didn't know that something earth-shattering happened tonight. In the Palace of Darkness, when Meng Yao ate the black phoenix, the Great Elder hurriedly gathered Wan'er, Elder Li, and the other elders together. Do you guys feel anything? The Grand Elder frowned and asked. It's like the Dark Phoenix's bloodline has awakened, and it's resonating with the bloodline in my body? Wan'er said carefully, could it be that there's someone else in the Palace of Darkness who has the same bloodline as me? That's impossible. If there was, I wouldn't have to push you around every day. The Grand Elder said, because you are the only inheritor of the Dark Phoenix bloodline, and the awakening of the Dark Phoenix's bloodline is related to the event after the Sky Class meeting. If there was someone who could replace you, I wouldn't have grounded you. The Grand Elder was telling the truth. If there was someone who could replace Wan'er, she wouldn't have treated her so harshly all these years, not letting her leave the mountain at all. That's... Wan'er asked carefully. I don't know. At first, I thought that the Dark Phoenix's bloodline had awakened in you, but now that I'm here, I know that's not the case. The Grand Elder shook her head, a little regretful. If you hadn't lost your virginity and given birth to a bastard with an impure bloodline, we wouldn't have ended up like this. Wan'er lowered her head, not daring to refute. For the sake of love, she'd caused irreparable damage to the Palace of Darkness. If she had gotten together with the young master of the Sky Elixir School, the school had their own pills to ensure that the child's bloodline would be pure, and if she trained this child, she could awaken the Dark Phoenix's bloodline and become the inheritor. But now, Wan'er could only try her best, but she still couldn't awaken the Dark Phoenix's bloodline? Alright, Elder Li, let the Dark Shadow Group investigate what exactly happened to cause such a phenomenon. The Grand Elder said, Wan'er, continue, we don't have much time left, you must quickly enter Sky Class, that's the only way to awaken the Dark Phoenix's bloodline. Yes, Wan'er replied. In the entire Palace of Darkness, only her bloodline had the Dark Phoenix's bloodline. Legend had it that her ancestor had accidentally eaten a legendary Dark Phoenix spiritual beast, and thus had the bloodline of the Dark Phoenix in her body. She was able to receive the inheritance of the Dark Night Spirit Mountain and had a chance to step into the Heavenly Tao. But after many generations of reproduction, the Dark Phoenix's bloodline was very little in Wan'er's generation. Though each generation's inheritors tried their best to preserve the purity of the bloodline, there would always be some losses. However, it was said that the Heavenly Elixir School could ask their ancestor to concoct a bone and marrow cleansing dand for Wan'er's child. However, the condition was that Wan'er had to marry the young master of the Heavenly Elixir School, who was now the master. Chapter 1755. Taking the pill would awaken the bloodline in the body, and there was hope of reviving the bloodline. Although it wouldn't be as powerful as the first Dark Phoenix user, it was the best way. Everything was ready, but the palace master Wan'er met Pengzhan during her training and the two eloped. They traveled all over the world, and in order to avoid the eyes and ears of the Dark Palace, especially since the Dark Shadow Group was under Elder Li's control, they purposely let things go. In the end, Wan'er and Pengzhan settled in Songshan and gave birth to Meng Yao. They thought that she could live here peacefully for the rest of her life. But the Dark Shadow Group wasn't just Elder Li's home, the Grand Elder's power had infiltrated them as well, and so they found Wan'er and forcefully brought her back to the Dark Palace. But after all these years, Wan'er couldn't break through to Sky Class, and she couldn't awaken the bloodline in her body. One reason was because she lost her virginity early, and the other was that there was too little bloodline left in her body, and the chance of awakening it was too low. Wanner's actions pissed the Grand Elder off. She completely ruined the Dark Palace's plan. Originally, the Grand Elder had planned to let Wanner's child take a bone-cleansing pill to awaken the bloodline, but now Wanner had given birth to Mengyao with a mortal, and because Pengzhan wasn't a practitioner, he couldn't preserve the bloodline, and so Mengyao's bloodline became even more impure. Even if she took a bone-cleansing pill, it wouldn't be able to awaken the bloodline. Plus, Wanner's actions had completely severed the relationship between the Dark Palace and the Sky Elixir sect. So how could the Sky Elixir sect concoct a bone-cleansing pill for Mengyao? With no other choice, the Great Elder could only place his last hope on Wanner. If she didn't use a secret technique to preserve her bloodline to give birth to a daughter with another cultivator, then the bloodline of the Dark Phoenix would be severed when it came to her. But in Wanner's case, not to mention whether she was willing to give birth to a daughter with another practitioner, other practitioners would not want a broken flower like Wanner. That was why the highest elder had a belly full of resentment towards Wanner. She wanted to see the Palace of Darkness prosper in her lifetime so that she could live up to the old palace master's trust. But now, Wanner didn't understand all this before. Now that she understood all this, she didn't regret it, but she didn't hate the Great Elder either. So what if he regretted? So what if he didn't regret? Nothing could be changed. She could only cultivate even harder. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had no idea what was going on in the Palace of Darkness. Mengyao, on the other hand, didn't show up again. The next morning, Mengyao woke up as usual, but the first thing she said was, "Pot? But add water." Shu and Tang Yun were worried about Mengyao last night, so they went to bed very late. They were sleeping soundly when Mengyao woke them up. The two opened their eyes sleepily, and Yushu looked at Mengyao in confusion. "Oh, Sister Yao Yao, what are you talking about? What pot? Didn't you guys tell me to watch the pot? I fell asleep by accident," Mengyao said, surprised. She realized that she was lying on the bed. Shouldn't she be lying on the outer side of the room? Tang Yun was much more awake now. She couldn't help but laugh when she saw Mengyao's situation. "Yao Yao, what happened last night? You don't even know?" "Last night? What happened?" Mengyao paused. "Sister Yao Yao, you took everything for yourself," Yushu said. "Took everything for myself? Why would I take everything for myself?" Mengyao was even more confused. "Sister Yao Yao, you really don't know?" Yushu saw that Mengyao's expression wasn't fake. She remembered that Mengyao didn't seem to be conscious yesterday, and she was even more surprised. "What do I know?" Mengyao shook her head. "Shu Yun, what are you guys talking about? What exactly happened yesterday?" Tang Yun and Yushu looked at each other. They didn't know how to talk about what happened yesterday. They didn't know if they should talk about it or not. They could read each other's thoughts from their eyes. It was better for Lin Yi to talk about it. "Sister Yao Yao, wait, I'll go get Shield bro." Yushu got up from the bed and ran outside. "Shu, the button on your shirt isn't fastened properly. You're naked," Tang Yun reminded. "It's fine. Shield bro saw it anyway," Yushu said. "I mean, what if there's a waiter outside the door cleaning the room?" Tang Yun said helplessly. "You're right. Just fasten it first. We'll take it off later," Yushu nodded. Tang Yun and Mengyao almost fainted. What kind of logic was Shu using? They wanted to say something, but Shu had already run out of the room. Lin Yi had been worried about Mengyao. When Shu came, he ended his practice and ran to Mengyao's room with Shu. Seeing Lin Yi come in, Mengyao subconsciously pulled her collar. She wasn't wearing a bra, and from Lin Yi's vantage point he could see inside. But for some reason Mengyao regretted it after pulling her collar. If Lin Yi peeked, it would prove that she was charming. It was natural that he didn't look. Mengyao was starting to wonder if she'd lost her charms after living with him. Why was this guy's self-control so strong? But she didn't know that although Lin Yi was a little perverted, he was still a gentleman. The art of dragon mastery had the effect of calming one's mind. That was why Lin Yi could be so calm in front of her and Shu. Besides, Lin Yi was a doctor. Sometimes, he looked at her and Shu's body with the attitude of a doctor. He wouldn't have any other thoughts. "Yao Yao, you're awake?" Lin Yi walked over and held Mengyao's wrist, checking her carefully. Mengyao saw Lin Yi's actions and felt even more strange. Tang Yun and Shu were already acting weird. Lin Yi checked her body as soon as he entered the room. It made Mengyao feel like she was recovering from a serious illness. "Lin Yi, what are you doing?" "I'm not sick." "You don't remember anything about what happened yesterday?" Lin Yi had heard about it from Yushu before, but he still had to ask. "Yesterday? What happened yesterday? What's wrong with you guys?" Why are you acting so weird? Why are you asking me the same question? Mengyao was surprised. Linny, tell me what's going on? Shu and Yun Yun seemed to be hesitating. Chapter 1761, Strange Dream Mid. Mengyao wasn't an idiot. She knew that Tang Yun and Yushu didn't answer her questions and went to find Lin Yi. It was obvious that something shocking had happened yesterday. Holy Hall Yao, tell me first. How did you feel last night? Lin Yi asked instead of answering Mengyao's question. Yesterday. Mengyao frowned as if she was recalling yesterday's situation. After a while she said, last night the three of us agreed to look after the pot for a while. When it was my turn I was bored and tired. I don't know why I fell asleep. I don't know what happened after that. When I woke up I was lying on the bed and I subconsciously asked them to look at the pot. So you don't know anything about what happened after you fell asleep? Linny nodded. What dream? Linny asked. I dreamt that I wasn't me? Mengyao didn't know how to describe it. What do you mean you weren't you? Lin Yi paused after hearing Mengyao's words. It means that I'm controlling the person in the dream, but that person isn't me. Mengyao explained ambiguously. It's like when you're dreaming and there's Shu in your dream and you can control Shu's body. Wow Yao, you're so evil. Yushu said. Shield broke and control Shu, ahem? Lin Yi coughed twice, not sure if he should laugh or cry. Shu, don't mess around. Yao was just making an analogy. I understand what she meant. She's the main character in the dream, not her, but she can control it. That's it. Mengyao nodded. I dreamt that I was the head of a very powerful sect and everyone called me Palace Master. Palace Master? Lin Yi paused. Was this what they meant by, what you think about in the day is what you dream about at night? They just talked about the Dark Palace and Mengyao had a dream like this? Yes, everyone called me Palace Master. The weird thing was that Palace Master didn't look like me but we looked similar. I don't know who she was. Mengyao continued. What happened was that there was a ritual, and someone brought a black animal called Dark Phoenix for me to consume. And I actually swallowed the Dark Phoenix. Can you guys imagine that? I swallowed an animal the size of a wild chicken whole. Now that I think about it, how scary is that? But the me in the dream seemed to be doing something natural. Tang Yun and Shu's faces were filled with weird expressions after Mengyao said that. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. When Mengyao asked, can you guys imagine it? Everyone had the same thought. Not only could they imagine it, they saw it with their own eyes. They saw it with their own eyes yesterday. Mengyao swallowed the Dark Phoenix, and that Dark Phoenix was the Dark Phoenix Mengyao was talking about? And then? Lin Yi didn't say anything else. Dark Phoenix, then? Then I seemed to have entered a very mysterious state. I could see the scene in the dream and I knew that I didn't have consciousness in the dream. At that time, a golden light flashed in my eyes, and my body was surrounded by a ball of golden light. It circled around me in the dream, and then it all gathered on my back, forming a pair of golden wings. At that time, everyone was worshipping me, congratulating me for getting this Dark Phoenix bloodline. Mengyao frowned as if she was shocked by the scene in the dream as well. And then? Lin Yi nodded. And then? I don't think I dreamt after that. When I woke up, it was already morning. Mengyao thought about it and said with lingering fear. Was it scary? It was. But Yao, do you know what you did yesterday? Yushu asked. What did I do? Mengyao asked. You swallowed the Dark Phoenix you bought yesterday. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It was exactly the same as your dream, you just put the Dark Phoenix in your mouth and swallowed it. After that, there was a flash of gold in your eyes, and your body was covered in a golden light as well, forming a pair of golden wings. Ah? Mengyao's eyes went wide. So, that wasn't a dream? I don't know if it was a dream or not, but the scene in the dream was very similar to what happened last time. Lin Yi said. That's why Shu said you ate it alone. No way? I just ate the Dark Phoenix I cooked yesterday? Mengyao subconsciously touched her stomach, but there wasn't any strange feeling. Yeah, Yao, was that Dark Phoenix delicious? I wanted to try it but you drank all the soup. Yushu licked her lips and said regretfully. I love eating strange things the most. It's really me? Mengyao blushed as she pointed at herself, embarrassed. She couldn't believe her eyes. It was you. Tang Yun nodded. We were really scared. Then, after I ate it, it was just like what I said? Mengyao was shocked as well. Yeah. Lin Yi said. It was almost the same. But luckily you didn't seem to have any problems. That's scary? Mengyao couldn't imagine how she could swallow an entire Dark Phoenix, but Lin Yi and the others wouldn't lie to her, so the only explanation was that she really did swallow an entire Dark Phoenix last night. However, there wasn't any abnormality, which was unimaginable. It's not that scary actually, Linny said. It's just a little weird. Did your dream hint at something? You're saying that I got the Dark Phoenix's bloodline after swallowing the Black Phoenix? Mengyao asked curiously. Chapter 1756. I think, from what I know, one possibility is that your dream is controlling your actions. This is what we call sleepwalking. You see something in your dream and it's the same thing in reality, so your dream is controlling what you do in reality. Linny said. From a medical point of view, there are many precedents for this. The second possibility is that your unconscious actions in reality caused you to have a dream caused by your actions. However, this possibility is relatively small because you were unconscious at the time, so how could there be a dream? What's going on? If I really did consume that Black Phoenix, then could it be the Dark Phoenix in the dream? Mengyao couldn't imagine what she'd done yesterday. Wait a sec, let me think. Linny said, but he wanted to ask Jiao Yazi if he had any similar knowledge. After all, Jiao Yazi knew more than him. Jiao Lao, do you know what's going on? Linny told Jiao Yazi about the situation. I have an impression. But I don't. Jiao Yazi frowned. From what I remember, there's something like this, but this part of the memory hasn't been unlocked yet. I really can't think of it. But, according to my understanding, this is called the inheritance of memory. Inheritance of memory? Linny paused. Inheritance again? He'd been hearing a lot about inheritance lately. That's right. Jiao Yazi said. From what I know, a person's memory is actually a set of brainwaves, and after a person dies, these brainwaves will exist in the natural world in a free form, but under certain circumstances, they'll resonate with the brainwaves of a living person and absorb them. You're saying that Mengyao received a set of brainwaves? Linny asked. You could explain it this way. For example, under certain circumstances, if two people were to do the same thing by chance and the same brainwave was nearby, then it could be absorbed. Elder Jiao nodded and explained, or, if the brainwave frequencies of the two people were similar, for example if they were relatives, then their brainwaves could resonate and absorb the brainwave. Actually, this is what people often say about the dead coming to us in their dreams. Of course, this is my shallow opinion, I don't know if it's correct or not, I'm just making conclusions based on my current memories. It's a little suspicious, but it does make sense. Linny nodded. That means that a long time ago someone ate a Dark Phoenix, the Black Phoenix, and Mengyao ate the Dark Phoenix as well. That's why she had this dream? So you're saying that when Mengyao ate the Dark Phoenix, the brainwaves were absorbed by Mengyao? Is this 99 Dark 9999 Dark 99? You could say that. Jiao Yazi said. Of course, you could also say that this brainwave was left behind by Mengyao's ancestor. Didn't Mengyao say it herself? The person in the dream is somewhat similar to her, so the possibility is higher. She fell asleep, and right next to her was the Dark Phoenix that her ancestor had swallowed back then. Thus, that group of brainwaves coincidentally resonated with her brainwaves, controlling her to do certain things and even appearing in her dream. No way? Mengyao's ancestor was a practitioner? And the head of some sect? Linny said, shocked. I don't know about that, I'm just analyzing it for you. I don't know the specifics. Jiao Yazi shook his head. I'm just telling you the most likely scenario. In other words, it doesn't matter which one of these two possibilities is the inheritance of memories, and Mengyao has that Dark Phoenix bloodline in her as well? Linny asked. I don't know. Jiao Yazi said straightforwardly. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't, maybe it's just a memory inheritance. All right? Linny smiled bitterly. At the very least, Mengyao's body didn't have any abnormalities. Linny didn't really believe that she had activated some kind of inherited bloodline, but what happened yesterday was indeed unbelievable. Linny said to Mengyao after leaving the Jade space. It shouldn't be a big problem, don't worry about it. It's just a dream, it doesn't mean anything. You've eaten a spirit beast, it might have strengthened your body, but there shouldn't be any side effects. As for the memory inheritance, Linny didn't explain. Saying too much would only increase Mengyao's mental burden. I see. Mengyao heard that Linny was fine, so it should be fine. After all, Linny was a very skilled doctor. Linny was the one who cured her a few times when she was sick. And if there's nothing else, let's go. Linny had a bad feeling in his heart. The Jade seemed to be urging Lin Yi to leave as soon as possible, as if something was about to happen. Linny didn't want to stay any longer. Naturally, no one objected to Lin Yi's suggestion. The four of them packed up and had breakfast in the hotel before leaving. At the same time, the Dark Palace's Dark Shadow group had started searching from the Dark Spirit Mountain. As the trump card of the Dark Palace's eyes and ears, The Dark Shadow Group was absolutely professional, so they searched very carefully with the Dark Palace as the center. They radiated outwards. But after searching the entire Dark Night Spirit Mountain, they didn't find anything strange. The person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group immediately notified Elder Li, and Elder Li brought the news to the Grand Elder immediately. Other than Mingyao's problem, Elder Li and the Grand Elder didn't have much of a disagreement, but usually, the two were on the same page when it came to major issues in the palace. Reporting to the Grand Elder, the Dark Shadow Group didn't find anything out of place. Elder Li said. Nothing out of place? The Grand Elder frowned, a little confused. Could it be that this phenomenon didn't appear in the Dark Spirit Mountain? That can't be. According to my feeling, it should be nearby. That's why I thought that Wanner broke through to Sky Class, and the Dark Phoenix bloodline awakened in her. Could it be that there's someone else nearby with the Dark Phoenix bloodline who suddenly awakened and accepted the inheritance? Elder Li was very puzzled as well. After all, the Dark Shadow Group didn't find anything. He believed in the Dark Shadow Group's ability, and if they didn't find anything out of place, then there really wasn't a problem. Chapter 1757. That's impossible. I would have found out long ago if there was someone with the blood in the Dark Phoenix Palace. I wouldn't have waited until now. The Grand Elder shook his head. Moreover, in Wanner's line of descent, she is the only one left. Could it be Yao Yao? Elder Li's expression changed slightly. Yao Yao? You're talking about Meng Yao? The Grand Elder humphed. Do you think that's possible? A bastard with an impure bloodline can awaken the bloodline and accept the inheritance? I know you want to bring her back to the Dark Palace, but there's no need to do something so illogical right now. You're an old member of the Dark Palace, how could you not know if it's her or not? Elder Li felt a little awkward. I'm just saying, maybe a new Dark Phoenix has been born? The Grand Elder guessed. If that's the case, then if we catch the Dark Phoenix and let Wanner eat it, wouldn't the Dark Palace return to its former glory? Elder Li's eyes flashed as he asked. Yes, but I'm just guessing. The Great Elder said, let the Dark Shadow Group continue to search, and then send someone to the nearby town to inquire about it. See if anyone has seen any abnormalities? Yes. Elder Li replied and immediately sent people to continue to gather more information. The Dark Shadow Group's efficiency was very fast, and it didn't take long for them to report back. This news shook the entire Dark Night Palace. In the meeting room of the Dark Palace, everyone had a serious expression on their faces. That hunter Wang Laolu said he caught a Dark Phoenix? The Grand Elder didn't know if he was too excited or something, but his breathing was rapid. We're not sure if it's a Dark Phoenix or not, but he said it's the legendary Dark Phoenix. The leader of the Dark Shadow Group said, according to the other townsfolk, some say it's a wild black chicken, some say it's not. It's hard to say what it is. The elders on the stage nodded. They had never even seen the legendary Dark Phoenix before. There were only a few descriptions of it in the Dark Palace's journal. No one knew what it looked like exactly. Do you have a photo? The Great Elder asked. No, the town's residents don't use camera phones, and it's hard for anyone to bring a camera at night, so there are no photos left. The person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group said, in the eyes of these people, it's just a wild black chicken. There's no need to take photos. Then where is this Black Phoenix now? This was what the Grand Elder was most concerned about. According to Old Six Wang, he sold the Black Phoenix to these 4 foreign tourists for 10,000 yuan. There were 1 man and 3 women. When they asked him about his appearance, he couldn't give a clear answer. At that time, everyone's attention was on the 10,000 yuan. Very few people noticed the 4 people's appearance. And because it was evening, the light was not clear. Old Six Wang said that the 3 girls were very beautiful, and he was too embarrassed to stare at them. The person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group said, later, when I asked about the whereabouts of these 4 people, someone saw them and said that they were heading towards the farmland in the direction of the town. I think they left the town. The Great Elder listened to the report of the person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group. His face was a little uncertain. If Old Six Wang really killed a Black Phoenix and it was eaten by others, the Dark Palace would suffer a great loss. They would even want to cry. But if it wasn't, how could the strange phenomenon yesterday be explained? Continue to investigate. Check the hotel records of the town and see if there's any news. The Great Elder said, send another group of people to follow the direction they left the town? Yes. The person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group received the order and continued to investigate. As for the Great Elder and the others, they didn't leave. They had been waiting in the meeting hall for news. This was a serious matter and no one had the mood to leave early. The investigation of the Dark Shadow Group quickly spread to the Dark Palace again. The 4 people stayed in the only small express hotel in the area. The registered name of the tenant was Ling 1. But with the information channels of the Dark Shadow Group, they couldn't find out the specific identity of this person. They suspected that it was a fake name. Lin Yi's identity as Ling 1 was fake in the first place, and it was normal that the Dark Palace couldn't find out. But that wasn't what disappointed them. Last night, Ling 1 had rented an induction cooker from the hotel. He must have cooked the Black Phoenix himself. If the 4 of them ate the Black Phoenix together, then the purity of the bloodline wouldn't be as pure as Wan Air's. It was pointless to find it now. And so, when the Great Elder heard the news, he was extremely disappointed. It seems that the wild game they bought was the legendary Black Phoenix. Maybe there was some strange phenomenon when they ate it, but after the 4 of them ate it, the Black Phoenix wouldn't be able to inherit its bloodline. There's no point in continuing to look for it. Everyone was silent, and the most disappointed was Wan Air. If another inheritor appeared, or if she ate the Black Phoenix, then she wouldn't have to suffer here every day. Once she accepted the bloodline awakening and inheritance, she would become the only master of the Dark Palace. At that time, the Great Elder wouldn't interfere with her other things anymore, and she could go meet Pengzhan and Mengyao. Keep looking. Maybe there's more than one Dark Phoenix. Ask Wang Laolu where he found the Dark Phoenix. We'll send someone to keep watch. Elderly said to the person in charge of the Dark Shadow Group. Yes. Everyone knew that the chances were slim, but it was good to have a sliver of hope. At this time, Lin Yi had already brought Tang Yun, Mengyao, and Yushu to the West Star Village. Lin Yi had a bad feeling in his heart, and so he didn't rest on the way back. Lin Yi drove the car like crazy, letting Mengyao, Yushu, and Tang Yun rest in the car. The 3 didn't know the reason, and they thought that Lin Yi wanted to go home, so they didn't say anything. In fact, even if they did, Lin Yi wouldn't know how to answer. After another day and night, the destination was right in front of them. There was no highway nearby, so the last part of the journey was unusually slow. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's speed, they would have reached the village a long time ago. Is this the place? The scenery is so beautiful, Shield bro. If you hadn't been injured last time, we would have settled here, right? Yushu looked at the green mountains and water in front of her, envious. Chapter 1758. You can handle a short vacation, but it'll be inconvenient if it gets longer. Your clothes and makeup aren't sold here, and even if you want to buy online, you'd have to drive to a faraway town to get your mail. Lenny said. This village isn't developed at all. It's not too bad actually. We don't need pretty clothes or makeup here. I'm actually looking forward to the days where the men farm and the women weave. Tang Yun said sincerely. Yushu was right. If Lin Yi hadn't recovered his strength at the last moment, they might have all returned to West Star Village. Although Tang Yun wasn't too happy about Mengyao and Yushu coming back together, that dissatisfaction was gone with the wind. Sometimes the friendship between sisters could dissolve jealousy, but if it wasn't handled properly, it would escalate to the next level. It all depended on the person's mentality. Tang Yun accepted Mengyao and Yushu, and the 2 of them accepted Tang Yun as well. Of course, it was all because of Xiao Xiao. If it weren't for Xiao Xiao, they wouldn't be able to get along so well. That day will come. Lin Yi smiled. But it's not now. Yeah, there's a lot of things we haven't solved yet, and Xiao Xiao's going to the Ice Palace as well. We all need to work hard. Tang Yun nodded. Lin Yi, what do you think I should say when I see Grandpa Lin later? I'm a little nervous. They were getting closer and closer to Star West Village, and Tang Yun was getting more and more nervous. My old man is very kind. Lin Yi smiled. I call him Old Lin, and that means he's easy to talk to. He'll be happy if I bring my wife back, right? Ugh. Tang Yun blushed. Won't he think that I'm useless? This was what Tang Yun was most worried about. She was afraid that Old Lin would think that she didn't have a family background or martial arts, that she wasn't a good match for Lin Yi. Right now, Tang Yun felt that Xiao Xiao was a good match for Lin Yi. She and Lin Yi were both strong, and it felt like they were a match made in heaven. How is that possible? Lin Yi said, besides, didn't I tell you this time? Let's see if we can think of a way to find a set of mental cultivation methods for you so that you can also... This was what Tang Yun was looking forward to the most. If she could become a powerhouse and reach the heaven rank, her lifespan would be extended and she would be able to accompany Lin Yi forever. Most importantly, she would be able to maintain her beauty forever, forever staying at the most beautiful moment. Lin Yi wouldn't be obsessed with the new and get tired of the old. Mengyao and Yushu didn't say anything, but they were looking forward to it as well. There were almost no cars in West Star Mountain Village, so when Lin Yi's car entered the village, it attracted a lot of attention. When they saw that the driver was Lin Yi, they became even more enthusiastic. Little Yi, you're back. Did he earn some money from this job? Did he strike it rich? Before, every time Lin Yi went out for a mission he would lie and say that he was working. Only old Lin and Air Gooden knew what was going on. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't tell the truth to other people. Ah, it's all right. Lin Yi smiled. Aunt Wang, your family's income is pretty good, right? You're wearing a golden bracelet? Ah yeah, not bad, not bad. Widow Wang smiled proudly as she shook the golden bracelet on her hand. Uncle Zhang, your house looks pretty good too? You're riding electric scooters? Lin Yi greeted another uncle. Compared to your car, it's still far from it. But it's good enough that I have a car. Uncle Zhang said proudly. Lin Yi greeted the villagers one by one. West Star Mountain Village wasn't that big and everyone knew each other. Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu were a little embarrassed. They had never seen such friendly villagers before, and they didn't know what to say. Fortunately, there was a film on the car, and the villagers could only see Tang Yun in the front seat. They didn't notice Meng Yao and Yushu in the back seat. This is the girlfriend that Dr. Lin said you brought back, right? Tsk, this girl is so pretty. Widow Wang looked at Tang Yun and praised. Thank you. Tang Yun didn't know how to reply. Haha, you look very shy. Widow Wang laughed out loud. Alright Aunt Wang, stop teasing her. My girlfriend is shy. Lin Yi helped Tang Yun out. Let's not talk about it now. I'll bring her home first and I'll treat everyone to dinner later. It's done, Lily, you can go back first. Aunt Wang said, and the others made way for Lin Yi to go home first. After all, Lin Yi hadn't come back for a long time, and the first thing he would do was to go home, not to chat with them. Lin Yi drove Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu back to the familiar courtyard of his house. As expected, he saw Lin Dongfang sitting on the chair in the courtyard. He seemed to have expected Lin Yi to come back and he didn't look surprised at all. He was eating sunflower seeds and drinking wine lazily. Lin Yi parked the car and got off with Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu. Lin Yi hadn't seen old Lin for a long time, and he missed him quite a bit. He walked over enthusiastically and Lin Dongfang jumped up from the chair. He then walked quickly towards Lin Yi. Old man, I finally see you again. Lin Yi walked over with a sigh. However, Lin Dongfang didn't seem to see Lin Yi at all. He walked past him and went straight to Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu. He said excitedly, Hello, you are Lin Yi's first wife, second wife and third wife, right? Welcome to be our guests. Lin Yi felt extremely awkward. He had put his warm face on a cold butt, and Lin Dongfang didn't even respond to him, and went to talk to Tang Yun and the others. It made Lin Yi lose face. And old Lin's question made Lin Yi lose face even more. Lin Yi had said that Tang Yun was his girlfriend, and Meng Yao and Yushu were here to play together, and old Lin's question made it seem like he had introduced them to old Lin in advance. Tang Yun was a bit embarrassed by old Lin's question, and she didn't know how to answer. However, Yushu didn't seem to be affected at all and said casually, Hello Grandpa Lin, you've got it wrong. We are not the first wife, second wife and third wife. Meng Yao frowned when she heard Yushu's words. Wasn't she embarrassing Lin Dongfang in front of everyone? Wasn't she just embarrassing everyone? Just when she wanted to say something to smooth things over, Yushu spoke again. Chapter 1759. Yun Yun sis and Yao Yao sis are the main wife, I'm the second wife, I don't have a second wife or third wife. Yushu said. Ahem. Dongfang was just joking, he didn't expect someone to be even worse than him. He started coughing. Old man, that's how Shu is, she likes to joke around, don't listen to her. Let me introduce you. Lin Yi said with a smile. This is Tang Yun, I told you about her before. These two are Chu Meng Yao and Yushu, good friends with Yun Yun. They're also the employers for the mission you gave me. But Lin Yi had to admit that Yushu's words had dispelled the awkwardness between them, and brought them closer together. Haha, I was just joking, I didn't expect you to be even better. Dongfang smiled at Yushu. Welcome. It's fine. Yushu said, Shield bro really does have a second wife, but she's not here, she's practicing in the ice palace. Dongfang knew that Yushu was talking about Xiao Xiao, so he wasn't surprised. He nodded. Why didn't you tell us you were coming? I could have prepared some food, you came back so suddenly and I didn't prepare anything? Haha, it's fine, tell Air Gooden to go hunt some wild game, we'll have wild game tonight. Lin Yi said, Right, I'll go get Air Gooden, Yun Yun, Yao Yao and Shu. You guys settle down here. And okay, you can go. Tang Yun and the others naturally needed to pack their luggage, so they nodded and said. Since Lin Yi had said a long time ago that he would bring them home, Dongfang had prepared a new room for them. He waited for Lin Yi to leave before saying to the three, I'll show you around the house, if there's anything you need, just let me know. Treat it like your own home, don't be shy. Okay, Grandpa Lin, we've bought most of the stuff we need, we don't need anything else, Tang Yun said quickly. That's good too. You guys settle down first. I'll tidy up the kitchen. We'll have some game tonight. Lin Dongfang led the three of them into the house at the side, and then went to clean up the cooking stove. Because Lin Yi wasn't home, old Lin basically ate his food, so the cooking stove was already very dirty. He had to clean it up. Lin Yi came to Air Gooden's house with ease, and Yu Yuan was busy drying some chilies and corn. She paused when she saw Lin Yi. Lin Yi? Where's Air Gooden? I'm back, so I came to see him. Lin Yi smiled. When did you come back? Why didn't you tell me in advance? Zhou Jiaming always says that he misses you and wants to see you, but there's a lot of farm work recently. We don't have time. Yu Yuan said in surprise. Zhou Jiaming went hunting in the mountains and will come back at night. Then I'll go look for him. Lin Yi often went up the mountains with Air Gooden and he knew where he was. He didn't need Yu Yuan to tell him. Alright, go find him then. Right, why don't you eat at my house tonight? We can have some game? Yu Yuan invited. Tang Yun, Yao and Shu are all back. They're at my house. Why don't you guys go over tonight? Lin Yi said. That's fine too. Yu Yuan nodded. Lin Yi left Air Gooden's house and walked towards West Star Mountain. The mountain was dangerous and there were many beasts there. Normal hunters didn't dare go deep into the mountain, and they only hunted at the foot of the mountain. But Air Gooden didn't care. He could go straight into the mountain to hunt. No beast had been able to escape from Air Gooden's punch. Air Gooden killed with one hit, not giving the beast a chance to fight back. Uncle Wang hunting? At the foot of West Star Mountain, Lin Yi saw the hunter Uncle Wang and greeted him. Lily, you're back? Uncle Wang grabbed a wild chicken and turned around. He smiled. When did you come back? Today I came to look for Air Gooden. Did you see him, Uncle Wang? Lin Yi asked. I saw him, he went up the mountain. He's up there. Uncle Wang said, only this kid is born with godly strength and he dares to go hunting. Normal people don't come back. Right, and you two are really… Haha, I practiced kung fu with the old man when I was young. Lin Yi smiled. Then I'll go up first. Go, come and play when you're free. Uncle Wang said. Everyone in the village knew that Lin Yi knew kung fu, but no one knew how strong Lin Yi's kung fu was. Normal people thought that Lin Yi was just stronger than normal people. Who's there? Air Gooden's instincts were very sharp. If a beast ambushed him from behind, he'd be dead. Although he was very strong, his defense was no different from a normal person. He had to be extremely vigilant. When a beast approached him, he had to react immediately. But what he heard was footsteps. It wasn't the footsteps of a beast, it was the footsteps of a human. This made Air Gooden feel strange. Other than him, no one else dared to enter the mountain. It's me. Lin Yi was very satisfied with Air Gooden's instincts. He purposely didn't hide his footsteps to test him. There wouldn't be any practitioners in this forest that would attack Air Gooden. If there was, it would be a beast, and a beast wouldn't be able to hide its footsteps. Boss. Air Gooden paused and turned around in surprise and joy. He looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Boss, you're back? Didn't I tell you? I'll be back in August for sure. Lin Yi nodded. I just arrived today. Tang Yun and the others are here too. Want to come to my house tonight? Sure, I'll bring Yuan over. Gooden nodded, remembering that Lin Yi said he'd be back in August for sure, but he didn't think much of it at the time. Now that he mentioned it, he finally remembered. Lin Yi wanted to enter the cave behind the back of the mountain on the night of the full moon. He didn't know who made this 5-year promise, but it was true that he could only enter after 5 years. This time Lin Yi couldn't miss it. There were still a few days until the full moon, and Lin Yi wasn't in a rush. How's today's harvest? Lin Yi asked as he looked behind Gooden. There wasn't anything there yet, so he was curious. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1760. Back to the cave, Part 2. Gooden was a little embarrassed. Don't mention it, I had a stomachache this morning, so I had to find a place to settle it. But it's fine, I'll go hunt some wild animals for dinner. Alright then, let's split up. We'll meet at my house. Lin Yi wanted to go check out the cave behind the mountain, but he couldn't bring Gooden along. Other than old Lin Yi was the only one who knew about this secret. Gooden was a reliable person, but this was a serious matter, and Lin Yi was afraid that he'd spill the beans. Alright. Gooden agreed without hesitation. After all, the two of them used to separate when they hunted, and Lin Yi used hunting as an excuse to check out the cave to see if there was a possibility of opening it early. But before the art of dragon mastery reached the first stage, it was impossible to open the stone door. Now that Lin Yi had reached it, He wanted to see if he could open the door before the full moon. After parting with Gooden, Lin Yi went straight to the top of the mountain. Here Lin Yi was the king of the jungle. Most of the beasts here knew Lin Yi, and they'd suffered under Lin Yi's hands before, so wherever Lin Yi went, the beasts basically all moved away. Lin Yi's aura made these beasts instinctively feel a sense of danger, just like General Wei Wu. At the top of the mountain, Lin Yi jumped down the steep cliff. With Lin Yi's current strength, he could jump back and forth without any pressure. He came to the entrance of the cave that he'd been to dozens of times before, and Lin Yi placed his hand on the stone door, channeling the art of dragon mastery. The stone door didn't react at all. Lin Yi sighed bitterly. It seemed that he had to wait for the full moon to come here. Otherwise it would be useless. Fortunately, it was only a few days until the full moon, and Lin Yi looked around the cave. The traps he'd set up before he left hadn't been touched by anyone. It seemed that no one had been here before, and Lin Yi could leave with peace of mind. When they got home, Gooden was already in the yard with old Lin cleaning up the deer and other game. Tang Yun and the others wanted to help, but the scene was too bloody. They couldn't help until they cut the deer into smaller pieces. Tang Yin had lived in a bungalow before and it wasn't too bad for her, but Meng Yao and Yushu were quite curious about it. Their villa was pretty much the same as a bungalow, but cooking with a stove in the yard was a first for them. It's so fun, Shield bro. Did you live here when you were young? Yushu was like a curious baby as she walked around the yard. You'll get bored after a while. Lin Yi said, there's no entertainment like in the big cities, so you can only watch TV or play on the internet at night. You're right, Yushu nodded, but as long as I'm with Shield bro, it's fun. Ah. Lin Yi smiled and shrugged, not saying anything else. At night, everyone sat around the fire and ate meat. Old Lin was very happy with the box of erguata Tang Yun brought him, opening one bottle like it was a treasure. He poured one for himself, one for Gooden, and one for Lin Yi before pouring a cup of water for Lin Yi. This action made Tang Yun, Yao Yao and Shu curious. Old Lin couldn't be that stingy, could he? They were all drinking, so why would he pour water for Lin Yi? Haha, maybe it's because of my practitioner's arts. I've never gotten drunk before, so it's a waste for me to drink. It's the same as drinking water. Lin Yi saw their confusion and explained with a smile. I see. Tang Yun and the others understood. Although Lin Yi was drinking water, everyone was enjoying themselves, especially old Lin. He smiled as he looked at Lin Yi, Tang Yun, Meng Yao and Yushu. Lin Yi, you're the best. Gooden brought back a wife and you brought back 3. I didn't even have enough gifts to share. It's fine, Grandpa Lin. Lin Yi already told us about your situation. He said that you donated all your money to those children, so we don't need any gifts. Tang Yun quickly said. It's fine, Grandpa Lin. Yeah, we're all family, no need to be so polite, Yushu said. Lin Yi, old Lin, and Gooden all burst into laughters. Yushu really didn't treat them as outsiders. After 3 rounds of drinking, old Lin sobered up a little and said, I heard that you want to find a suitable practitioner's arts for Yun Yun and the others, turning them into practitioners? Yes, that's exactly what I meant, Lin Yi nodded. Xiao Xiao became a practitioner and they want to train too. Is that so? Old man Lin pondered for a moment and said, everyone's physique is different, so the mantra suitable for cultivation is also different. For example, the mantra that you cultivate has no effect on me. I'm the same as Gooden, a physical practitioner with no class. Although I have spiritual arts, it's only a support type, and I haven't reached sky class yet, so I can't suppress my body's condition, so my situation doesn't apply to them. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm troubled about. Master left, otherwise I might be able to get some useful information from him. After all, he knows a lot. Lin Yi sighed. Then, do you have any other ideas? That's right. Yes. I can try to contact someone for you. Maybe he has a way, but maybe he doesn't, Old Lin said. Old Lin said, as far as I know, the mental cultivation method that you cultivate is the most powerful mental cultivation method that we have. The others are all supplementary ones that strengthen the body. For example, the one that your master and I cultivate. Although we cultivate both internal and external, and we have reached a certain level of external cultivation, we don't have a grade. As for internal cultivation, we don't have much of an achievement either. Hearing the words, Lin Yi's eyes flashed with surprise. It seemed like old Lin had some connections behind him that he didn't know about. Then you'll have to keep an eye on this, old Lin. Lin Yi didn't hold back. Right, you and Gooden still haven't found a solution? Is there no way to bring the spring water out of West Star Village? It's been so many years and there's no result. I'm about to give up, Old Lin said with a smile. Hashtag. Chapter 1761. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything else. The night in Star West Village was quiet, and the sky was pure. In the city, it was rare to enjoy this kind of tranquility and see the beautiful starry sky. Lin Yi and Tang Yun sat on a big rock in the yard, enjoying the moment. Meng Yao and Yushu didn't disturb Lin Yi and Tang Yun. The three were very close, but Lin Yi and Tang Yun didn't have many chances to be alone. Now that they were here, they gave Lin Yi and Tang Yun a chance. After all, old Lin was joking, but Meng Yao didn't want to be shameless. Tang Yun was Lin Yi's girlfriend, and it wouldn't be right for her and Shu to interfere. Are you used to it? Lin Yi put his arm around Tang Yun's shoulder. It was rare for them to have such a warm moment. It's pretty good. Tang Yun blushed as she was hugged by Lin Yi. She played with the ring on her fingers subconsciously. Although Tang Yun wasn't jealous of Meng Yao and Yushu anymore, she was still a little competitive. This ring was a gift from Lin Yi. Even if Meng Yao and Yushu became Lin Yi's second wife, Tang Yun was still unique. She was a very special one. That's good, I was just worried that you guys wouldn't be used to it. Lin Yi said, I said I would bring you home last time and this is how it is now. If we were impulsive last time, we might end up like Gooden and Yuan, living here for the rest of our lives. Isn't that better? Tang Yun said subconsciously. Chem? Lin Yi paused. Nothing. Tang Yun blushed even more. She accidentally revealed her thoughts, and she didn't want Meng Yao and Yushu to hear it. But behind a pile of firewood not far away, there were two little spies. Yao Yao. Yun sis seems to still have a knot in her heart. Yushu said softly. That's for sure. Who told you to keep saying that you want to be Lin Yi's concubine? Yun has already done enough to not kick you out. Meng Yao glared at Yushu and scolded her. But in her heart she was thinking, was the knot in Tang Yun's heart Yushu or her? Isn't Xiao a small wife too? Why doesn't she have a knot in her heart? Yushu said, unconvinced. She was going to die at that time, how could it be the same? You don't have any illness or disaster. If you were to die, maybe Lin Yi would marry you and Tang Yun would agree. Meng Yao said, annoyed. It's hard to say. Maybe I'll end up like that one day? Yushu said. Don't jinx it. Meng Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Can't you say something positive? You're still thinking about this? Man, I'm just telling the truth. Yushu raised her head and looked at the stars in the sky. No one knows what will happen to them in the future. Even I, the prophet Shu, don't know. Shu, why are your words so profound all of a sudden? Meng Yao paused. No, ho, I'm just joking. Yushu grinned. You scared me. Meng Yao breathed out in relief. In actuality, Lin Yi had heard every single word of the conversation between Meng Yao and Yushu. Lin Yi was an Earth class after all, so there was no way he'd be able to hide something like this from him. However, Lin Yi wouldn't purposely expose anything. He just pretended that he didn't hear anything. It was rare to have a chance to be alone with Tang Yun. Lin Yi naturally treasured it. I wonder how Xiao is doing now. The last time I saw her. It's only been a few days. I miss her already. Tang Yun sighed. Sometimes you get a little jealous. Now that she's gone, you miss her again. Lin Yi said helplessly. Yeah. Although sometimes I don't feel too happy when I think of her as your girlfriend. But now that she's gone, I miss her again. Tang Yun was that kind of person. Her heart was in a mess. Haha, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years. When the time comes, we'll bring her back together. Lin Yi made a vow in his heart. He had to become an elixir refiner. It was an urgent matter, but there was no progress in the field of elixir refinement. What Lin Yi lacked now was a good teacher. The refiners from the Sky Elixir sect had someone to guide them, and Bao Qua in the Hidden Right House had someone to guide them. Lin Yi was the only one who didn't know where to start. But currently Lin Yi wasn't on good terms with the Sky Elixir sect and the Hidden Right sect. He couldn't ask them for help. There was a second-level refiner in the Ice Palace, but Lin Yi couldn't bring himself to ask for help. He heard that the refiner was very arrogant. In the Ice Palace, only the girl Crystal Candy could talk. Even if Lin Yi wanted to learn, she might not be willing to teach Lin Yi. Okay. Tang Yun nodded heavily. I really hope that we can be like tonight. We can forget all our worries and be carefree. We can sit in the garden and look at the stars. Life would be great. There will be such a day. When the time comes, I'll be with you, us. Lin Yi couldn't help but pause when he said the word, us. It's okay. I've thought it through. If Yao and Shu want to follow us, they can. We can find a place or live in seclusion. It'll be fun. Tang Yun said. But you don't seem to be someone who can stay idle. Yao and Shu. Lin Yi looked at Tang Yun strangely. Yao doesn't know what she's thinking. Shu likes you. Since I accepted Xiao, how can I exclude her? Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Today, did Grandpa Lin tell you in private what he thinks of me? Tang Yun smiled, returning to her usual carefree and easygoing self. Not really. Lin Yi shook his head. He seems to like you a lot. But he's just like that. He's always unreliable. He likes you all. Haha, that's good. Tang Yun nodded. Lin Yi was an orphan. Grandpa Lin, who raised him, was naturally Lin Yi's parent. His attitude was directly related to whether Tang Yun could stay in House Lin in the future. Since Grandpa Lin didn't have any objections, there was no problem. Tang Yun is a good person. Shu, if you really want to be with Lin Yi in the future, don't bully her. She's a very kind person. Meng Yao listened to Tang Yun's words and sighed. Chapter 1762. Of course, Shu's the best, she never bullies her own family. Saint Hall, Yushu said. She only bullies outsiders. Yeah. Meng Yao nodded. You've heard everything you wanted to hear, we should go back and rest now. Yeah. Yao Yao, why aren't they sleeping yet? I'm a bit sleepy. Yawn. Yushu yawned, but they couldn't leave without Lin Yi and Tang Yun leaving. It was very quiet in the middle of the night, and they'd be discovered if they moved. Who told you to be a spy? Shu 007. Great, if they want to have a romantic night here, we'll just sleep behind the firewood. Meng Yao said, not in a good mood. So many mosquitoes. Why don't we just go out? It's nothing much anyway. Yushu felt that they'd become mosquito bites the next day if they slept here for one night. You can go if you want, I'm not going. Meng Yao couldn't afford to lose face eavesdropping on other people's private conversations. How embarrassing was that? But their conversation was heard by Lin Yi, and Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. Yun, let's go out for a walk. The air is very fresh at night, and sitting here for so long is going to make my legs sore. No. Okay, Tang Yun nodded, and very naturally let Lin Yi hold her hand, and the two walked out of the garden together. Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, used this opportunity to return to their room, but the two of them were already covered in mosquito bites. Even if they used mosquito repellent and stickers, the mosquitoes here were too strong. Back in the room, Yushu lit up the mosquito coil and applied some balm with Meng Yao. After a while, Tang Yun came back as well and looked at the two strangely. Why are there so many mosquito bites? Why are there so many mosquitoes in the room with the mosquito coil? Tang Yun asked, surprised. There are a lot of mosquitoes here. Meng Yao said awkwardly. I'm outside, but I didn't get bitten. That's weird. Tang Yun didn't have a single mosquito on her, but she didn't know that it was because Lin Yi used his pure qi to chase away the mosquitoes nearby. Meng Yao and Yushu were too far away, and Lin Yi couldn't take care of them. You weren't bitten? Yushu was surprised and complained, this mosquito is so biased. Yao Yao sis and I were bitten, why didn't it bite you? We're not that far away. Not far? What does that mean? Weren't you guys in the house? Tang Yun paused. Holy Church, ahem. Shu's saying that we were bitten but you weren't bitten, so she's a little upset. Meng Yao explained. What she's trying to say is that we were inside the house and outside the house but you weren't. Is that so? Maybe it's because the room is small so there are more mosquitoes. Tang Yun couldn't explain it clearly. Are there any mosquitoes now? Do you want me to kill them for you? No need, I killed them all and lit the mosquito coil. There won't be any more. Meng Yao said. Oh. Tang Yun nodded. Life in the village was leisurely and happy. The villagers heard that 3 city beauties came to old Lin's house, and they all came to visit. They were envious of Lin Yi's luck with women. They were already envious that Gooden married a city wife, and now Lin Yi brought back 3. They were even more impressed. But these people were just looking and they knew their place. They wouldn't introduce their relatives or friends' children of the right age to him. Of course, the novelty only lasted for a few days. After that, things returned to normal. Other than playing with the 3 girls, Lin Yi spent his time with Gooden. Boss, you're at home and I'm preparing to get engaged with Yuan. There's a wedding in a few days, you have to come. Gooden said. Engagement. Lin Yi wasn't surprised. Gooden and Yuan weren't of marriageable age yet, but according to the customs of the village they could get engaged first. After the engagement, it was the same as getting married, and everyone in the village would treat Yuan as a part of Gooden's family. Yeah boss, do you want to get engaged with me too? Gooden asked. I'll pass. Lin Yi thought about his situation and rejected. How was he supposed to get engaged? With Tang Yun? Wouldn't Shu be unhappy? And Xiao wasn't here. What was he supposed to do? In the blink of an eye, it was the day of Gooden's engagement. The quiet village became lively all of a sudden, decorated with lanterns and streamers. Everyone from the surrounding villages came to support the couple, and Gooden's family, as the host, started preparing early. Wild boar, wild chicken, wild duck, wild roe deer, all sorts of wild animals were prepared. Corn, potatoes, vegetables, and other side dishes were prepared a few days in advance. Early in the morning when the sky was bright, the kitchen in Gooden's house started getting busy. All kinds of relatives who knew how to cook came to help because there were too many banquets. There were more than 100 tables. It could be said that all the residents of the village and the residents of the other villages had rushed over. This was how it was here. When someone had a wedding or a funeral, everyone would come to support them. As for whether they would give gifts or not, it was a small matter. What they wanted was such a lively scene. As Gooden's best friend, Lin Yi naturally had to help out. Mengyao, Yushu, and Tang Yun on the other hand didn't rest at all. They became waiters and waitresses helping to serve the dishes. There weren't too many rules for an engagement in the village. The two people would show their faces on the stage, say some polite words and spend the rest of their lives together. Then the invited troupe would perform, and the two people wouldn't have to do anything else. Everyone came to watch the show and the newlyweds went to change their clothes. Every table went to give a toast, of course, whether they knew each other or not. This was the custom of the village. It's so interesting. Will we get engaged like this in the future? Tang Yun enviously asked. If you want, naturally we can do it. I'm just worried that you'll think it's too noisy, Lin Yi said. Yeah. Me and Xiao Xiao, how could we get engaged with you at the same time? Wouldn't people laugh at us? Tang Yun shook her head. It's better to keep a low profile. Hearing Tang Yun's words, Lin Yi didn't know how to reply. He could only smile bitterly. Tang Yun was right. What would happen if the two of them got engaged at the same time? Chapter 1763. The moment the stone door opened, Lin Yi heard Jiao Yazi's voice. Little Lin, did you call me just now? Jiao Lao, what did you do just now? I called you so many times but you didn't respond. Now that it's over, why are you talking? Lin Yi didn't know what to say. Just now, the connection between you and the space in the jade was cut off. Didn't you feel it? I could hear you but I couldn't communicate with you. Jiao Yazi said. I see. Lin Yi was speechless. He blamed Jiao Yazi wrongly. Now that the connection between him and the space in the jade was restored, Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. The stone door just now gave me a fright. I didn't have any experience like this before. I thought my energy was sucked away and the stone door couldn't be opened. Just now. Jiao Yazi pondered. As the stone door opened, I recovered some of my memory. Just now, was your energy sucked away by the stone door and returned to you? Yes, that's right. Lin Yi nodded. Holy Church, this situation is very normal. The stone door was just testing you. Jiao Yazi said. The first stone door can be opened by using the art of dragon mastery. However, the second stone door needs to test if you have completed the first stage of the art of dragon mastery and successfully entered the second stage. Only then will the stone door open. So that's how it is. Lin Yi understood. However, the next question made Lin Yi confused. Jiao Lao, if that's the case, why did I feel that after the stone door absorbed my energy and returned it to me? Why did I feel that after the energy came back, it entered the stone door again and then went through my left and right hand as if it was a cycle? Haha, you're asking about this? Jiao Yazi had recovered a portion of his memories and could answer most of the questions Lin Yi was facing. The stone door does this to filter and purify the energy in your body. Because the energy in your body doesn't come entirely from the pure energy in the space of the jade pendant, a part of it comes from the spiritual qi of heaven and earth that you cultivate, and the other part comes from the qi gathering pill you consumed. This causes the energy in your body to not be particularly pure, so in order to better cultivate the second level of the art of dragon mastery, the stone door automatically filters and purifies the energy in your body before it opens. Don't you feel that the energy returning to your body has become purer? Indeed. Lin Yi nodded. He didn't expect the stone door to have such a benefit. Previously, Lin Yi thought that as long as he followed the 5-year promise and activated the art of dragon mastery, he could open the stone door. Little Lin, it's almost daybreak. Why are you still talking nonsense with me? Jiao Yazi suddenly reminded him. If you have any questions, ask me when we get back. Now, quickly take your benefits and leave this place. Otherwise, it'll be too late for regrets. Lin Yi was shocked. Because the cave was as bright as day, Lin Yi couldn't feel the situation outside the cave. However, after hearing Jiao Yazi's words, he turned around and realized that there was a faint white light outside the cave. It seemed like it was not far from daybreak. With that thought, Lin Yi quickly got up and walked towards the second stone door. However, when Lin Yi entered the second stone door, the scene behind the stone door disappointed Lin Yi greatly. Behind the second stone door, there was no magnificent hall like the first stone door. Instead, there was a small, simple room. The four sides of the room were made of stone. There wasn't any luxurious design. However, what made Linny curious was that there was no light source in the entire stone room, but it was still as bright as day. He didn't know what was the source of the light. However, Linny wasn't surprised. Linny had experienced the strange things in the cave 10 years ago. Therefore, no matter what happened, Linny wasn't surprised. In front of the stone room there was a small platform. On the platform there was still an antique small box. Other than that, there was nothing else. Perhaps this was the mantra for the second stage of the art of dragon mastery? However, Linny was a little puzzled. Jiao Lao said that the second stage of the art of dragon mastery had some benefits. One of the biggest benefits was that the space in the jade pendant could be turned into a storage space to store things. But now, it seemed that there was only the second stage of the cultivation mantra and nothing else. Could it be that after cultivating the second stage of the cultivation mantra, the jade pendant storage space could be automatically opened? Although the scene behind the second stone door disappointed Lin Yi, it was within Lin Yi's expectations. A small box was all he had gained from this trip to the cave. Lin Yi walked around the stage and there was a third stone door at the back of the stage. And beside the third stone door, there was also a similar stone tablet. On it, there was a line of words written in seal script. Stone door can be opened after mastering the second stage. This line of words formed a sharp contrast with the words on the stone tablet. It almost made Lin Yi cry. Great, since this was written on the stone tablet, it probably meant that he didn't have to abide by the 5-year promise of the full moon anymore. As long as he perfected the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, he could open the third stone door. As such, Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry to investigate. He directly went up the platform, took the box on the platform and walked out of the cave. Although he didn't know how long it took to open the second stone door, it definitely wasn't a short time. If it wasn't for Jiao Lao's reminder, he might have missed the time. That would be troublesome. So Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry to check the things in the small box. It would be the same if he went back to check. If he was trapped in the cave, he wouldn't be able to get out. Although Lin Yi's energy was self-sufficient and he might not die even if he was trapped in the cave for 5 years, there were so many things waiting for Lin Yi to do outside. How could Lin Yi be trapped here forever? Moreover, there was nothing left in the cave for Lin Yi to miss. All the benefits were in this box. Lin Yi didn't even look back and hurried back to his home in the West Star Village. You're back. Lin Yi didn't think that old Lin wouldn't rest the whole night. Instead, he was sitting on a chair in the courtyard, quietly waiting for Lin Yi's return. When he saw Lin Yi, old Lin suddenly opened his eyes and asked. Chapter 1764. Remember, don't practice before you complete the tempering process. These 2 lines of annotations made Lin Yi frown. Originally, Lin Yi wanted to start practicing the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. But when he saw the annotations below, he could only give up on this idea. Holy Church, as the saying goes, an impatient man cannot eat hot tofu. However, where was the so-called body tempering prescription? Could it be one of the 2 remaining silk scrolls? Thinking of this, Lin Yi temporarily put down the second stage of the mantra and took out the second silk scroll from the small box. He opened it carefully and read it. The words tempering prescription were reflected in Lin Yi's eyes. As expected, this was a prescription. Lin Yi, who had a deep understanding of medicine, could tell at a glance that this was a prescription. Luckily, it was a prescription and not a pill prescription. If it was a pill prescription, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to find a place to cry even if he wanted to. The prescription didn't need to be refined with alchemy fire. It could be used directly after concocting it. This was also Lin Yi's specialty. And at this moment, Lin Yi finally understood what Jiao Yazi meant. Without using the tempering prescription, it was impossible to practice the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. And in the cave, where would Lin Yi go to concoct the tempering medicine? Not to mention practicing the second stage, he might really have to wait 5 years in the cave before he could see the light of day again. This made Lin Yi's back break out in a cold sweat. He felt lucky. Under the tempering prescription, there were 4 big words: jade pendant condensation. When Lin Yi saw these 4 words, he couldn't be bothered to study the body tempering formula. Instead, he focused all his attention on the jade pendant condensation. Lin Yi remembered that Jiao Yazi had said that he would receive benefits after opening the second stone door in the space of the jade pendant. However, his memory had not been opened at that time, so he did not remember it clearly. Therefore, he did not say much about it. From the looks of it, could this be the method to transform the space in the jade pendant? Lin Yi continued to read, only to see that under the words jade pendant condensation, there was a line of small words written, second level condensation storage space. Seeing this, Lin Yi could not help but feel a little puzzled. Could it be that there was still a first level of condensation for the jade pendant? Otherwise, how could it directly become the second level of condensation? Thinking of this, Lin Yi asked doubtfully, Jiao Lao, did I miss something behind the first stone door? Why is this the method of condensation for the second level of the jade pendant, and not the first level? You didn't miss it. The first level of condensation was completed by someone else for you. Your jade pendant did not have a cultivation space previously, and with your strength when you just opened the stone door, it was impossible for you to condense it. Therefore, the person who made the jade pendant did it for you. As for the second level, you need to figure it out yourself. Jiao Yazi's memory seemed to have recovered quite a bit. He could also answer Lin Yi's question. I see. Lin Yi nodded and continued to read. Compared to the previous formula, Lin Yi was more interested in the jade pendant condensation. However, when Lin Yi continued to read, his face suddenly showed an extremely strange expression. This was because some of the materials mentioned above, Lin Yi had never heard of them, let alone seen them. Blue crystal powder, pure topaz colored steel. Although there weren't many materials, at least Lin Yi didn't know what blue crystal powder and pure topaz were. He had heard of colored steel, but he wasn't sure if it was the same colored steel that he had heard of. According to Lin Yi's knowledge, colored steel was just a kind of steel plate that was painted with colored paint. However, Lin Yi thought that it shouldn't be such an ordinary thing, right? Jiao Lao? What are blue crystal powder, pure topaz and colored steel? Lin Yi didn't understand, so he could only ask Jiao Yazi for help. Are you planning to condense the jade pendant first? When Jiao Yazi heard Lin Yi's question, he knew Lin Yi's intention. There is a prerequisite for condensing the jade pendant. The second level of mental cultivation must be perfected in order to condense the energy of mental cultivation. What's the use of knowing it so early? This? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He only looked at the materials needed in front and didn't look at the specific condensation method of the jade pendant. However, after listening to Jiao Yazi's words, Lin Yi said, even if I can't condense it, I still need to collect the materials first, right? That's right. Jiao Yazi nodded and said, the so-called blue crystal powder is the powder of blue crystal. Pure topaz is topaz without any impurities. As for colored steel, it belongs to the uncommon category. It's a naturally formed colorful metal. Where can I find it? After listening to Jiao Yazi's explanation, Lin Yi suddenly showed a bitter smile. Blue crystal could be collected in the jewelry market, but as for pure topaz, it was a bit difficult. Most of these things had a price but no supply. Topaz did exist, but pure topaz without any impurities was hard to find. As for the colorful steel, Lin Yi had never heard of it. Hidden aristocratic families, ancient sects, various ancient ruins. Jiao Yazi said, I'm not sure where exactly, but colored steel is one of the supplementary materials needed to forge weapons. Those ancient sects might know about it. Forge weapons? Why didn't I see them using weapons? Lin Yi didn't see any weapons in Rock Candy and Little Qing's hands. Do Heaven Stage Masters need to use weapons to deal with Earth Stage or even Mystic Stage Masters? Jiao Yazi asked. Lin Yi's expression froze and turned into a bitter smile. Jiao Yazi was right, how powerful was a Heaven-class master? Even if Lin Yi was an Earth-class now, he didn't have any confidence in winning against a Heaven-class master, let alone others. Thus, he reckoned that only a battle between Heaven-rank experts would use weapons. Rock Candy didn't even use martial arts on him, let alone weapons. With that thought, cold sweat appeared on Lin Yi's back. If it wasn't for Rock Candy's eagerness to keep Xiao Xiao in the Ice Palace, she wouldn't have gone easy on him. Now, it seemed that Rock Candy just didn't care about it. Doesn't that mean that if I can't collect these things, I can't condense the jade? I can't store anything in the jade space? Lin Yi said dejectedly, what kind of benefit is that? I thought that after opening the second stone door, I would be able to obtain these abilities. Wrong, can't the jade store pure qi? So, it's not like you can't store anything. Jiao Yazi said, actually you can store some things in here but it's not perfect. Chapter 1765. A strange martial skill, isn't that the same as not saying anything? Lin Yi listened to Jiao Yazi's explanation, and had the urge to beat him up. He came to the cave full of hope and all he got was this. Hawks, he wanted him to condense the jade pendant, and not add a storage space in it. Take your time. You've waited for 10 years. Do you need more time? Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi's impatient face and shook his head. Do you know why I asked you to wait for 5 years before opening the stone door? Lin Yi asked curiously, why? You've seen the cultivation speed in the space of the Jade Pendant. If you persevere, you'll be able to complete the first stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery in less than 3 years, right? Jiao Yazi asked. That's right. Lin Yi thought about how he broke through the bottleneck on the first night he entered the space of the Jade Pendant, and successfully entered the second stage from the first stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery. It was enough to prove the magical effects of the space of the Jade Pendant. The 3 years that Jiao Lao said was a conservative estimate. If he was fast, he might be able to enter the second stage in less than 3 years. So, why did we set the 5-year promise? Jiao Yazi paused and continued, we were afraid that you'd be too impatient and open the second stone door. You're young and your mind is not stable. We were afraid that you'd be too impatient and you'd be too impatient. It's not a good thing to rush to the second stage when you haven't even stabilized the first stage. I see. Lin Yi nodded, then there's no need to rush to condense the Jade Pendant. Let's slowly collect the materials and complete the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery first. That's how it should be, Jiao Yazi said. Since the decision was made, Lin Yi didn't need to rush to see the method of condensing the Jade Pendant. He didn't have all the materials, so there was no point in looking. Lin Yi put down the second scroll and picked up the last one. For some reason Lin Yi suddenly felt nervous. This last scroll was his only hope, the last thing in the box. It was hard for Lin Yi not to be nervous. This time, Lin Yi came to the cave to get the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery, but he had another hope, and that was to find a suitable technique for himself. The Earth-class masters he met, other than Boss Yu, all had their own techniques, but Lin Yi only had Faubert's technique. He didn't know if it was because it didn't match with the Art of Dragon Mastery, but Lin Yi hadn't made much progress after practicing it for so long. He wasn't a match for others at all. If he didn't have a strong technique, then the advantage that Lin Yi had when he was a mystic would be gone. So Lin Yi really hoped that he could find a technique that suited him in the cave. Even Lin Yi himself was a little sure that there should be a technique that suited him in the cave. Otherwise, where would he go to find a technique? And this last scroll was Lin Yi's hope. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi opened the third scroll, but when Lin Yi saw the word martial technique, he got excited and his face turned red. It really was a martial technique. Sure enough, behind the second stone door of the cave, there was a martial skill. But when Lin Yi calmed himself down and read the content, he was confused again. What was this martial technique? There was only the word martial technique, and below that was the main text. There were no subtitles to explain the moves of the technique, and that wasn't all. What made Lin Yi even more confused was that the main text of the martial technique was a part of the practitioner's mantra. The content of the mantra and the method of qi circulation were similar to the Art of Dragon Mastery. But this was just a mantra for practicing qi and there were no specific moves. This made Lin Yi very puzzled. There were no moves, just the mantra. What kind of martial technique was this? Could it be that by cultivating the mantra of this martial skill, one would be able to unleash moves? No matter how Lin Yi thought about it, it didn't seem possible at all. It wasn't realistic at all, it was just a method of luck. There was no mention of fighting the enemy, and it made Lin Yi wonder if he'd been tricked. But according to the previous situation, the Art of Dragon Mastery was such a powerful cultivation mantra, how could there be such a deceptive situation? Lin Yi had no choice but to continue asking Jiao Yazi, Jiao Lao, what's going on with this martial technique? Why is there only a section of the cultivation method mnemonic chant, and no specific cultivation moves? I've said it before, things don't get done quickly. I haven't fully recovered my memory of the martial technique, how would I know what's going on? Elder Jiao said helplessly, the original plan was that when you open the second stone door, you would at most have the strength of a mystic class, so the martial arts were only to be used if you broke through the earth class before you opened the third stone door. That's why it was placed at the back of the box and my memory has only just recovered, it's not fully recovered yet. Even if you ask me now, I can't explain it. Lin Yi was speechless after listening to Jiao Yazi's explanation. It was all his fault that he didn't enter the space of the Jade Pendant to cultivate, or else he would have entered the second stone door 5 years ago and obtained the mantra and martial technique of the second level of the Art of Dragon Mastery. By this time, Jiao Yazi's memory would have been fully recovered, right? But since Jiao Yazi didn't know, Lin Yi could only find out by himself. He would cultivate first, and if it didn't work he would have to wait until he recovered his memory. But what made Lin Yi uneasy was that Jiao Yazi's last sentence was used when he broke through the earth class. Could it be because he had been delayed for 5 years, and this martial technique was only used to build the foundation before learning the real martial technique? And the real martial technique could only be obtained after opening the third stone door? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat when he thought of this possibility. His deduction was indeed possible. If he had entered the space of the Jade Pendant 5 years ago, Lin Yi was afraid that he would at most be a mystic class master. Having a mantra to build the foundation for practicing the martial technique of the Earth class was not a bad thing. When he opened the third stone door, he could smoothly practice the martial technique. But he had been delayed for 5 years and everything was a little out of place, causing his strength to be higher than expected. He had already reached the early Earth class, but the mantra couldn't keep up with his cultivation speed. Chapter 1766. Perhaps this was why the art of dragon mastery was invincible before the Earth class, and he was known as the number 1 below the Earth class. But after he entered the Earth class, it was completely different. He felt that it was very difficult to fight against an enemy. Even if it was against an opponent of the same level, if he didn't use a powerful trump card like the Chi Bomb, he wouldn't have any confidence in winning. Thinking of this, Lin Yi felt a little depressed. If he waited until he completed the second stage of the art of dragon mastery and opened the third door to get the technique, it would be too late. But now that the situation was like this, even if Lin Yi wanted to change it, it was impossible. Part 2. The only thing he could do now was to cultivate the second level of the art of dragon mastery to its peak while he practiced this technique. Then he could open the third stone door. Lin Yi sighed and copied down the prescription on the second silk scroll. He then folded the 3 silk scrolls carefully and kept them close to his body. He brought the prescription to old Lin to study. Most of the ingredients in the recipe were common, but there were some that Lin Yi hadn't even heard of before. Old Lin was experienced and knowledgeable, so he should know what these ingredients were. Part 3. Even if it didn't work, he could find substitutes. At least it wouldn't stop Lin Yi from practicing the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. After seeing the technique, Lin Yi couldn't wait to train the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Lin Yi didn't stay with Tang Yun and the others at night, so Tang Yun and the others didn't know what Lin Yi was doing. It wasn't that Lin Yi wanted to hide it. Although Tang Yun, Yao Yao, and Shu were the closest people to Lin Yi, there were too many people. Even Air Gooden didn't know the secret of the cave, so naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't tell others. If the cave was discovered by others in advance, it would be too late for Lin Yi to cry in the future. After leaving the room, Lin Yi saw the piercing sunlight outside and remembered that old Lin hadn't slept at all last night. He was probably resting now, but Tang Yun and the others had woken up and were surprised to see Lin Yi return. Lin Yi, yesterday Grandpa Lin said that you went hunting in the mountains and didn't come back yet. Did you come back in the middle of the night? Tang Yun wasn't worried that something would happen to Lin Yi. With Lin Yi's strength, what kind of beast could harm him? Yes, I came back at midnight. St. Hall, Lin Yi nodded. I was planning to hunt a few wild chickens for you guys to eat, but unfortunately I didn't find any. Forget it, I'll go buy some later. Tang Yun and the others didn't think too much after hearing Lin Yi's words. Hunting wasn't like other things. Sometimes you purposely looked for a certain animal but you might not be able to find it. So, it was reasonable that Lin Yi couldn't find any wild chickens at midnight. Huh. Where's Grandpa Lin? Why don't I see him? Meng Yao looked around the yard curiously. Every morning, old Lin was the first one to wake up. At this time he would definitely be in the yard, sunbathing and chatting with Tang Yun and the others. But today there was no one on the recliner and Dongfang's bedroom door was closed. This made Meng Yao and the others feel strange. Haha, I slept in today. As soon as Meng Yao's voice fell, Lin Dongfang pushed the door open and walked out of the room. He looked hale and hearty, not at all like someone who didn't sleep for a night. But Lin Yi knew that although old Lin was a physical practitioner, he practiced some spiritual arts. Although he didn't reach the sky class, he had reached a very high level. If he didn't sleep for a night, as long as he adjusted his breath, he would be back to normal. Lin Yi nodded to him, smiled and didn't say anything. Although Lin Yi wanted to ask old Lin some questions, they hadn't eaten yet, so Lin Yi prepared breakfast first. The breakfast of a farmer was simple, only porridge and pickled vegetables, but even so, Tang Yun and the others ate with relish. The pickled vegetables were pickled by Lin Yi himself. They had seen Lin Yi's skills before. Just a few simple dishes made the girls salivate. After breakfast Lin Yi said, "Old man, are you free? I have some questions about medicine that I need to discuss with you." Medicine? Old Lin paused. He didn't know what Lin Yi wanted to discuss with him at this time, but he still nodded and said, "Okay, what about Yun Yun and the others? We'll go walk around the village and play with Air Gooden and Yu Yuan Yuan. Lin Yi, if you have something to do, you should do it first." Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu had become familiar with each other in the village. They basically knew each other and they went around every day taking pictures and having fun. Sure. Lin Yi wasn't worried about the girl's safety. Lin Yi knew everyone in the village and they couldn't be bad people. After breakfast, Lin Yi followed old Lin to his room. Old Lin was confused about why Lin Yi wanted to discuss medicine with him at this time. Didn't you get the second stage of the art of dragon mastery? Why aren't you in a hurry to practice? Why are you discussing medicine with me? After hearing old Lin's words, Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. Old man, I've obtained the second level of the scripture, but there's a prerequisite to practice the second level. Prerequisite? What prerequisite? Old Lin asked curiously. Body tempering. You must use medicine to temper your body, and you can only practice after that. Lin Yi said, and what I want to discuss with you is the medicine for body tempering. So it's body tempering? Old Lin heard Lin Yi's words and immediately nodded. Body tempering? I say, old man, do you know something? From your tone it sounds like you know something? Lin Yi was good at reading people's expressions. After hearing old Lin's words, he looked at old Lin suspiciously as if he knew something. Since you already know, then I won't hide it from you. When you practiced the first stage of the art of dragon mastery, you also tempered your body, but I was the one making the medicine for you. Do you remember that I would soak your body in medicine every day? Lin Dongfang didn't hide anything. So you're saying that before I went to the cave, you already knew that I practiced the art of dragon mastery? Lin Yi had his suspicions before. He vaguely felt that it was a little strange for old Lin to call him to the West Star Mountain on that full moon night 10 years ago. Chapter 1767. This time, it didn't matter if the hidden houses were at odds with each other or not, all of them came. They were all heads of the houses and all of them were old heads. For these old patriarchs to personally come, it was obvious that they wanted to discuss an important matter. Most of these hidden families were in a competitive relationship, but when it came to matters of common interest, they would cooperate with each other. Old Zhao, I didn't think that you'd become a sky class early phase already. I remember that you were still an earth class late phase peak when I sent Lil Qin to celebrate your birthday last year, right? Old ancestor, you looked at his daughter-in-law in shock. He didn't think that in less than a year he'd become a sky class. Ah, am I that useless in your eyes? What, do you feel uncomfortable now that I've become a sky class? Old man Zhao laughed and said, you are already a heaven stage expert. If I don't work hard, how can I? That's true. Our houses, you and Zhao, have always been close, and I'm happy that your house is thriving. Old ancestor, you turned to Guangyin, who was behind old Zhao, and said faintly, Guangyin, I heard from Lil Jin that you're preparing to bring back an illegitimate child? What's going on? It's okay for a man to be a bit romantic, but don't cause a family conflict because of this? Guangyin's face reddened. The old ancestor of House Yu only mentioned it lightly, but for a sky class to ask about it, it was definitely not a small matter. It meant that the old ancestor of House Yu was dissatisfied with what he did. With that thought, Guangyin could only answer, Father-in-law, this was decided by our old ancestor, and it wasn't Guangyin's idea. He could only push this to old Zhao, and in fact it was old Zhao's decision. Now that old Zhao and old ancestor you were both sky classes, naturally they wouldn't turn against each other over something like this. In the hidden houses, once an elder became a sky class, they'd call him old ancestor. This was because the lifespan of a sky class would be lengthened, and after becoming a sky class, they could protect the house for at least 100 years, so it wasn't wrong to call him old ancestor. This was my idea. Old Master Zhao took over the matter. No matter what, he's still a descendant of my Zhao family. Taking advantage of the joyous occasion of my breakthrough to the heaven rank to bring him back, it's not a big deal. Sanctuary. Old Yu nodded and didn't say anything else. His daughter wasn't happy about this, but this was House Zhao's family business after all. Since old Zhao had already said so, it wasn't appropriate for him to say anything else. Naturally, it would be a different story if old Zhao hadn't advanced to the heaven rank. A heaven rank powerhouse was like a guardian to a hidden family. As long as there was a heaven rank powerhouse keeping watch, and as long as the family didn't provoke a more powerful force, it could guarantee that the family wouldn't decline within 100 years. But if some of the young people in the family were so full of themselves that they became brainless and provoked a more powerful force, then it would be a different story. However, a hidden house with a heaven rank powerhouse was already comparable to a normal ancient sect. Even those ancient sects with only 1 or 2 heaven ranks would have to think twice before making a move on a hidden house with a heaven rank powerhouse. So old Zhao breaking through to the heaven rank was a good thing and a bad thing for old Yu. The good thing was that the 2 houses were related by marriage and could be considered allies. The bad thing was that House Yu wouldn't be able to control House Zhao anymore. House Yu's original plan was to wait for Yu Shaojin and Zhao Guangyin's child to grow up and take over House Zhao. At that time, House Yu's grandfather would be there, and he'd be able to interfere with some of House Zhao's decisions. But now that House Yu's grandfather was there, even if his grandson became the young master, he wouldn't be able to make decisions on his own. Just like House Yu's Yu Shaoqin, when it came to House Yu's benefits, they still had to ask for his permission. The Zhao family's ancestor advancing to the heaven rank made the patriarchs of the other hidden families feel strange. They didn't know what kind of fortuitous encounter the Zhao family's patriarch had, but it wasn't good to ask. How they advanced to the heaven rank was a taboo to others, so it was impossible for them to expect others to tell them. Congratulations, old friend Zhao. This time it was old Master Pai who spoke. He was also a heaven class, but he was a physical heaven class. To be able to break through to heaven class as a physical practitioner was quite rare. Congratulations. The one who spoke was the old master of the Yu family. Although the old master of the Yu family focused on alchemy and cultivation as a supplement, no one could underestimate his heaven stage strength and control of alchemy fire. When a refiner reached heaven class, even if they didn't have any special techniques, just using the fire to create a killing move was enough to give people headaches. Unless it was a water-type, ice-type, or snow-type cultivator that could restrain fire-type cultivators, other cultivators might not even be able to get close to him before their clothes were burnt to a crisp. Of course, these hidden houses' elders, other than House Yu's elder, had all broken through to Sky Class in recent years. The reason why the Hidden House Association was able to intimidate them was because House Yu only had one Sky Class, House Yu's elder. They were weak, and the Hidden House Association was able to completely suppress them. But these years, with the disappearance of the founder of the Hidden Family Arbitration Association and the disappearance of the Chief Grand Elder, these ancestors that had advanced to the heaven rank started to become restless. They didn't want to be suppressed by the Hidden Family Arbitration Association, so they decided to hold this Hidden Family Convention. However, the elders here were all smart people. None of them were stupid. Though they had the same goal this time, none of them wanted to be the first to stand out. After all, what if the great elder of the Hidden House Association was still here? What if he came back to punish the hidden house that broke the rules? Therefore, these old men sat around the conference table in silence. In-law, you used to be the second elder of the Hidden House Council. Now that the Grand Elder isn't here as the second elder, why don't you say something? Old Master Zhao saw that everyone was silent, so he spoke after a moment. Currently, among the hidden houses, the strongest were still the Hidden House Yu and the Hidden House Yu. The Hidden House Yu had 2 Sky Class Masters, while the Hidden House Yu only had 1 Sky Class Master, the Old Man of House Yu. However, it was unknown how many Sky Class Masters they had in the dark. Chapter 1768. Chapter 1778, Think of a Way. Yeah, old Yu, from the looks of it, your House Yu's desire to go to the common world for revenge is the strongest. Old Tang's birthday banquet was ruined, and his relationship with the Ice Palace was broken. Naturally, he hated Lin Yi and wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible, but what happened on the birthday banquet was sealed. He couldn't cause trouble for Lin Yi in the open in case people found out the truth. So, naturally, he encouraged the Hidden House Yu to avenge the Common House Yu. Please remember, Hawks, everyone, although the Common House Yu was destroyed and we, the Hidden House Yu, want to avenge them, but we're not in the right here. Elder Yu wasn't stupid. The Hidden House Council has already said that hidden houses can't get involved in the common world's business. We've been helping the Common House Yu earn money, and that's already a violation of the Hidden House's agreement. If we use this as an excuse to get revenge, then when Grand Elder comes back, it'll be us Hidden House Yu who'll be in trouble. So, even if we want to test them, we need to come up with a good reason. Even if Grand Elder questions us, we can push the blame away and not let someone else take the blame. You're right, in-law. Elder Zhao nodded, but we don't have a reason to leave the mountain, right? When Jin Wudi of the Golden Bell sect left the mountain, Grand Elder wasn't there, we were the ones who allowed it. His reason for leaving the mountain was good, to avenge his disciple, but he died after that, and Grand Elder couldn't find anyone to blame. Everyone agreed with what Elder Zhao said. If Jin Wudi didn't die, then they could test if Grand Elder still existed or not, but now that he was dead, there was no need for Grand Elder to appear. So, if they wanted to leave the mountain, they had to find a good reason. Everyone, let's brainstorm. Think about it. Is there a reason for us to leave the mountain so that even if the Great Elder knows, he won't blame us? Said Old Master Yu. But it's not like there's no way. Old Yu sighed. The establishment of the Hidden House Arbitration Association is to restrict the hidden houses, but it's also to mediate the conflicts between hidden houses so that they don't fight each other. You mean we should fake a conflict and let the great elder come out to judge? Old Master Zhao's eyes lit up as he asked. That's right. Old Yu nodded. As long as we create a conflict and let the two hidden houses fight, the association will definitely intervene. This way the Grand Elder will have to show himself. But, didn't we say before that we can hold a hidden family meeting to resolve ordinary conflicts? Moreover, there is still you, the Second Elder. There are some things that you, the Second Elder, can also make the decision. Old Master Yu frowned and asked. That's true, but what if our house Yu has a conflict with another house? Elder Yu smiled and asked in return. Oh. House Yu's old man Yu froze for a moment and couldn't help but give a thumbs up to House Yu's old man Yu. Ha, you're indeed the first to advance to sky rank. As the Second Elder of the Hidden House Arbitration Association, if you have conflicts with other people, then we really can't interfere. Only the Grand Elder can come out to judge. That's right. Old Yu nodded. Everyone here isn't an outsider. Who would be willing to put on this show with our house Yu? Of course they might suffer a bit, but this is the only way. After all, no one wants to be the first to break the rules. If none of you are willing, then pretend I didn't say anything. Of course, we're all willing to play along, but the problem is that we don't have a suitable point of conflict. The old man of the Yu family said, our two families are evenly matched. If you say that we want to have a conflict, if we really fight with swords and guns, we will definitely suffer heavy losses. At that time, we may not necessarily be able to determine the winner. If there is no suitable reason for the conflict, then others will think that we are acting. At our age, we're not idiots. We can't be as impulsive as young people. That's true. But perhaps some of you here have heard that we lost a chi-gathering pill. With that, old Yu looked at old Zhao. As far as he was concerned, Yu Xiaojin must have told old Zhao. If she knew about this, then she must have told old Zhao. However, Elder Zhao misunderstood. Could it be that House Yu had found out something? Could it be that Yu Huixing didn't keep his mouth shut and spilled the beans? I've heard about it, old Zhao said calmly, but why did you bring this up all of a sudden? If the pill was taken by other houses, then there would be a point of conflict. Old Yu said, Xiaoqin could have entered Sky Class, but such a good chance is gone. The person who took the pill will be the enemy of House Yu, and it's understandable that House Yu would fight with all our might. But House Yu won't take your pill. Although it's hard to make if we want it, hee. It's not that we can't make it, it's just that the investment isn't worth it, Old Yu said with a smile. The people present didn't think that Elder Yu was exaggerating at all. After all, the chi-gathering pill was a top-notch medicine for the hidden houses, but it wasn't much for the ancient sects, especially the Sky Elixir School. They could make it if they wanted to, but there would be some side effects after using it. Only people like Yu Xiaoqin, who wasn't that talented, would use it. After all, if Yu Xiaoqin didn't have the chi-gathering pill, he'd be stuck at Earth Class late phase peak for the rest of his life. Forcefully breaking through to Sky Class after using the chi-gathering pill would be extremely difficult, but Yu Xiaoqin didn't think that he'd be able to break through again. This was the difference between hidden houses and ancient sections. Hidden houses were mostly satisfied with Sky Class. With the protection of a Sky Class, it could ensure the family's prosperity. The ancient sects, on the other hand, pursued an even higher level than Sky Class, Heavenly Dao. It was just that no one had broken through to the Heavenly Dao yet, and those who had once pursued the Heavenly Dao had all disappeared. Thus, no one knew what kind of strength was above the Heaven rank, nor did they know if there were any stronger existences above the Heavenly Dao. Chapter 1769. Although old Ancestor Yu knew about this, he also knew that House Yu didn't have any talented people. They only collected these things for the master behind the scenes. Holy Hall Elder Yu's words shocked everyone present. It seemed that the hidden Yu family's current strength was just a facade. No one knew how many experts they had in their family and how many trump cards they had. In my opinion, this chi-gathering pill was snatched away by the old friend of the Zhao family, right? Old Master Yu of the Yu family said. You don't slander us. How could we, House Zhao, steal House Yu's chi-gathering pill? Old Zhao was shocked and quickly denied it. Old Yu was speechless. I say, Old Zhao, aren't you being too emotional? I don't mean that you really stole House Yu's chi-gathering pill, but among us hidden families, only you just broke through to Sky Class. So, if you say that you stole the pill, it would be the most reasonable. You used the pill to break through to Sky Class, so you fell out with House Yu? I see. Old Zhao let out a sigh of relief and cursed in his heart. Old man, you guessed it right. I broke through because I stole House Yu's chi-gathering pill. However, with this act they could more or less cover up the truth. Although they would become the target of public criticism, no one would believe that he really stole House Yu's chi-gathering pill. However, old Zhao wasn't stupid. He thought for a while and said, "My in-laws and I put up such a dangerous act for everyone. When the time comes, everyone will benefit. Won't we lose out a little?" Ah. The old master of the Yu family seemed to know that the old master of the Zhao family would ask this question, so he smiled and said, "Don't worry, we are not ingrates. Your two families have stood up for all of us. We will not treat you badly in secret. This time the Yu family will offer generous elixirs as a thank you gift. House Tang, although we don't have medicinal pills, we still have some money." Old Tang said, "Us too." House Pai's old man and the others all expressed their willingness to give some benefits in secret. Thus, the matter was temporarily settled. These few days, House Yu pretended to have received a tip-off from their daughter, Yu Xiaojin, saying that the pill was stolen by House Zhao. House Yu, on the other hand, had Yu Huoxing cooperate with them, accusing House Zhao of wrongdoing. This way the conflict between the two houses would escalate to an irreconcilable point, and then they could summon the elder. While Lin Yi was in seclusion, something happened in Songshan. Takitara Chu Pingzhan looked at the numbers on the computer screen. Even someone like him, who had seen the world, couldn't remain calm. This speed of earning money was too fast, wasn't it? Pengzhan Industries had never been this profitable since he took over the company. Pengzhan had heard of people who could earn as much money as they wanted, but he dismissed them with a laugh. But now he understood that people like that did exist, and he was one of them. Pengzhan picked up his phone excitedly and dialed in Mingyue's number. "Brother Pengzhan, why are you calling me again? Didn't we just talk? I've sent the current profit to your email box. Have you received it?" And Mingyue asked calmly. "Yes, I've sent it to you." "I got it, of course I got it, Brother Mingyue, that's why I'm calling you." "Futures? Isn't it a little too fast?" Pengzhan was very happy. The money he'd earned in this period of time was equivalent to Pengzhan Industries' annual profit. Aha, that's what the futures market is like. Plus, with that friend of Jiangwen's here, it's only natural that we earn more, and Mingyue smiled. "Thank you, Brother Mingyue, for having such a good way to earn money and not forgetting about your old neighbor," Pengzhan said gratefully. "You don't have to thank me, Brother Pengzhan. The more money you have, the more you earn. If it weren't for you investing so much money, I wouldn't have earned this much if I'd done it myself." And Mingyue said nonchalantly, "Plus, it's just a matter of convenience. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2 sheep, haha, it's just a small effort." "Brother Mingyue, if that's the case, then I'll cut to the chase. I won't say any more thank yous, let's get down to business. What do you think? I'll invest more now." Pengzhan looked at the numbers on the screen. It was hard for him not to be tempted. "Invest more?" And Mingyue paused. "I say, Brother Pengzhan, does Pengzhan Industries still have funds? Futures is just for fun, it's still more important to have business." "Brother Mingyue, I won't hide it from you. Since the futures market is so good, I'd like to make a killing. Pengzhan Industries' development has reached a bottleneck, and it'll be hard for us to expand without more funds. So, I'd like to use my assets as collateral and borrow some money," Pengzhan said. "That's a little risky, isn't it?" And Mingyue said, "Brother Pengzhan, as an old neighbor, let me give you a word of advice. Futures is risky, it's not like you think it is. It's normal for other people to lose money when you make a profit. So, it's about time, why don't you stop?" And Mingyue was praying in her heart that Pengzhan wouldn't really give up because of her persuasion. That'd be the end of everything, and they'd have to pay a huge sum of money. Pengzhan's plan would have been for nothing. "Ah, as the saying goes, riches come with risk. I'd like to take a gamble," Pengzhan said. "Brother Pengzhan, are you thinking about it?" And Mingyue sighed, "This kind of investment is too risky. It's fine to do it once in a while, but in the long term, Brother Mingyue, I've made up my mind. I'm going to do it big this time." Pengzhan said, "I hope you won't try to talk me out of it, but support me fully." "Sigh, alright, since you've made up your mind, I won't say anything else." And Mingyue sighed again, a little helpless. "How big do you want to go? Brother Mingyue, can you lend me some money?" Pengzhan said after some hesitation, "Since your family doesn't want to do business anymore, why don't you support me?" "Brother Pengzhan, borrow money. Actually, with our relationship, it's not a problem for me to lend you money, but you should also know that I don't have the final say in the family. My elder brother and Mingri and my father are watching." And Mingyue said with some difficulty, "If I directly take out a sum of money to lend you, then they definitely won't agree.